In this video, I will teach you the 3D modeling process to make one of these, your very own Nerf turret. Oh! Oh my eye! This is a very long process, but I made this to be as simple as possible. I walk you through each part step by step, from creating the servos to creating screw holes, creating complicated shapes by utilizing basic tools, and embossing text or custom images onto the turret. I recommend tackling one section at a time. Print out the parts as you go, and feel free to take a break and come back to it later. When I teach this in my classes, this tutorial actually takes several weeks, so take your time. In the next video, I will release a build guide, where I will show you where to buy all the parts and how to assemble it. And in the final video, I will teach you how to code this turret as well. But for now, let's focus exclusively on the 3D modeling. So strap yourselves in, it's gonna be a while. Alright, it's time to start modeling the Nerf turret. Now again, if you have no experience 3D modeling, this is not exactly an intro tutorial. It's for people who have some experience with Fusion 360. If you have no experience, follow my video where you model this fidget spinner. It'll get you grounded in the basics, and then you can make this. Now, as mentioned in my other video, whenever you make a robot or anything that you're 3D modeling that fits around an existing thing, I always recommend you model those existing parts first. In this case, our Nerf turret will be built around our servos. Now for this build, I'm using these servos from Amazon. They're the Muses or something like that. The Muse 20 kilogram. Interestingly enough, the 35 kilogram ones do not control well. They have a lot of backlash, but the 20s run perfectly. Fascinating. So use the 20s, and part of the reason I like these is because of their price to performance, and they also come with this particular servo horn, which makes modeling the thing a lot easier. So if you don't use this servo, that's all right. Just get another servo that comes with this style of horn that's relatively large and goes to both sides. Okay, let's start modeling. First step, save. So come up to the top, click save, and I'm just going to give this Nerf Turret Tutorial, capital T, Tutorial, YouTube. Okay, there it is. So I've given it a name. Now, super important habit to get into from the get-go. I still forget this. Make components. So come up over here to the top on your browser tab, right-click, new component. And we're going to call this large servos. So, because we're going to make two of them. All right, let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is snap to a top view and then click Create Sketch. By the way, some Macs don't have this as they're, in the Create tab. This doesn't show up here. So you hit a down tab here and it shows up here under Create Sketch. So anywho, Create Sketch. I'm going to click this top square here, this orange square, to sketch in a top-down plane. And now let's create a rectangle. R for rectangle, and then I'm going to come over here and select center rectangle. I'm going to click the center. I'm going to expand open. I'm going to make this 20.1 tall, tab 40 wide. And I want to be clear, when we're modeling this servo, we don't need to make every single little detail. I just need to model it schematically. I need to get the important details so that I can build the rest of my turret around it. In particular, we're on the bottom now. We're going to make the legs and the bracket that fits on top of it. And I want to keep track of those dimensions. All right. Now, let's extrude this upward to get the full height of the thing. Key letter E for extrude. I click the plane, or notice it's already selected. 40.5, enter. Okay, so we've kind of got the box here. Now let's make the bit where the servo horn goes. So I'm going to snap to a top view. You didn't have to do that, but just click Create Sketch. I click the top of our servo, And now we're going to make a guideline. X for construction, L for line. I click the front here, but only when I see the triangle symbol, which means I'm at the midpoint. Click and come in and type in 10 millimeters. To come in, well, 10 millimeters. Hit key letter X to inactivate construction. C for circle. I'm going to click the center of the circle, and I'm going to make this 13.1. We're creating kind of this top projection bit that comes out of the servo. It'll be clear in a second. Let's extrude this. E for extrude. Click that circle. Type in 1.4. Enter. Now we kind of see where we're going with this, right? Okay. Now let's make these little side tabs that are the mounting holes for everything. So I'm going to come to this side view, a right side view, using my view cube, create sketch, click the side profile. X for construction, L for line. Click the bottom right corner here, come straight up and type in 27.5. Hit enter. So I've got a guideline from the bottom up here, and this is going to dictate where I put the tabs that come out of this thing. R for rectangle. X to inactivate construction, because now I want extrudable geometry. Click that dot, pull up into the side. Make sure it goes all the way across, which is 20.1, and when it snaps to the side, I'm going to type in 3.2. Enter. Okie dokie. Now, let's extrude this bit. E for extrude. Click the tab, and I'm going to extrude it by 7.4. But important thing, come over here to operation. I do not want operation set to join. I'm going to change operation to new body. And that'll become more clear why we did that in a second. But to explain it in brief, I'm going to do a bunch of things to this and mirror it to the other side, and that's just going to make it simpler. All right, now we're going to create a sketch on the top surface of this tab we just created. Okie dokie. Got to check my measurements. All right, X for construction, L for line. I'm going to click when I see the triangle symbol here at the midpoint. I'm going to come up by 0.8. Hit enter. Ugh, that's not what we wanted. So I'm going to do a Control Z. L for line again. Click yeah. Come straight up. Make sure it snaps to this line. And I'm going to come up to 0.8. Enter. Now, R for rectangle. X to inactivate construction. Click that dot. Come over until I snap. And then I'm going to come down by 1.6. So 7.4 by 1.6 rectangle. Again, always feel free to pause. You don't know how many times I've done this. And I still screw it up all the time. All right. Now, we're going to create a guide rectangle to dictate exactly where I want the holes, the mounting holes, to be. So, R for rectangle, X for construction. I want it on here. I'm going to start on this dot, nya, and I'm going to come out, make sure I'm doing this right. Let's see. It is 4.2 away from that way. I'll see if I get it right in a second. And then 4.9 this way. Yeah, so I want it taller. I want it more taller, 4.9 up and down, and 4.2 left and right. So 4.9, tab, 4.2. So I'll enter it to accept that. Now you can see it, right? It's 4.9 from this red line here going upward, 4.2 left and right, which is going from this wall here all the way out there. And now I'm ready to make my mounting holes. So I'm going to hit C for circle. Thought I hit C for circle. Let's try that again. C for circle. There we go. X to turn off construction. So I'm drawing a circle here, and I'm going to make this 4.5. Enter. Why is this taking so long? I clearly typed in 4.5. So by the way, look, it didn't work. One of the things I could do, I can double click that measurement and I could re-enter it now. So Again, let me escape out of that. I can find the measurement. You got to make sure you click the measurement, not the circle, blah, blah, blah. If I find the number and I double click the number, I can re-enter it. 4.5, enter. That's what I wanted. Okay, now we're just going to mirror this to the other side because no reason to do all that work again. So I'm going to hit mirror. I'm going to click the thing I wish to mirror, the circle. Once I've selected the object I wish to mirror, I'm going to activate the mirror line field. I click that, and the mirror line I wish to mirror it about is this line right here. I am not Canadian. Then I click OK. And my goodness, my computer is running slow. Oh well. E for extrude. I'm going to click this circle here and this circle here. And I'll show you the right way to do this. There's a shortcut way, but I want to do the way in case you ever make modifications. Make sure you change extent type to object. So let me do that again in case I was fast. E for extrude. Click this circle. Click this circle. And I'm going to change extent type to object. Now I click the underside, and then I select OK. The reason why I changed extent type to object is that in case I change the dimensions of this thickness, that cut extrusion will scale proportionally. If you don't do that, and you make a modification, if you don't select extent type to object, and you change it, then whatever measurement you extruded that cut to will remain. So if the thickness was 3.2, but then you made this thing 3.4 thick, then that hole would only go down by 3.2. Okay. Now, let's make this, I don't know. Oh, I know what we need to do. So now, we had a rectangle here before that utterly disappeared. Let's bring it back. I got to look around my camera here. All right. Expand your large servos tab. Expand your sketches tab. And turn on sketch 4, that last sketch we created. Now that I can see this little rectangle we created. E for extrude. Click that little rectangle and type in 1.6. Again, making sure operation is set to new body. Click OK. Now, these have little rounded edges. It's not super important these are here. They're not useful as far as any measurement for the Nerf turret, but let's make it match up a little bit. Key letter F for fillet. I'm going to fillet. Do not click a surface. Click this edge here. Boom. That edge here and this edge here on the other side. And I'm going to make that a fillet of, notice it's waiting for a number. I'm going to type in number 3. Enter. There you go. Look at that. Starting to look like a servo. But now we need to put this thing on the other side. And by the way, this sketch is bothering me. I don't need this sketch anymore. I don't want to see it. So I'm going to come over to my browser tab, turn off the eyeball for the sketch. That's better. All right, now let's mirror this thingy to the other side Aruski. So I'm going to mirror this whole set of tabs. So create, scroll down to mirror, select mirror, select this object and this little object here. So now I've selected the two bodies. By the way, object type should be set to bodies if it isn't by default. So I'm mirroring these two bodies. Now the mirror plane I wish to mirror it about. I activate that. And now it's looking for the plane. Now this is interesting. If you're my origin plane is still kind of showing up. If not, you could turn it on here. But you can faintly, here, I'll turn it back on. You can faintly see it there, right? Maybe you can. I don't know how well this is going to capture. Here, if I zoom out, now you can see these origin planes, right? There's two ways to do this because this origin plane does cut it in half perfectly. Now, the way I used to do this, I would zoom all the way out so I can click it here and it mirrors to the other side. That's just fine. Another way to do it, I'll X out of that. Another way to do it is if I left click and hold on my surface. Notice it says, hey, do you want this face, the other face? No, I want the YZ plane that was between those two faces. Now I can mirror it to the other side. Operation set to new body. That is okay. Okay, now, if you open up your bodies tab, there are 5 bodies. I do not like this. I wish there to be one body. So let's make it one body. So the way I recommend doing this quickly is I'm going to left click, hold, and drag. There we go. Selected all the bodies. See how they all show up there? Well, that's what we wanted. Now I'm going to click combine to combine all those bodies. Target body, don't care. Tool bodies, don't care. All that matters is I'm smushing all these things into one body. Then I'm going to select, make sure keep tools is off. I don't want new components. So not check, click OK. There it is. Look, we have a body now. Hooray! Now, so I did this intentionally. I don't like the roundedness of this. In fact, I find that too round to approximate my servo. So I just wanted to remind you all of the utility of using the timeline. If I want to change this, I'm not going to go back and unfill it, refill it this. Let's just change the original fillet. So come down here to your timeline, right click, edit feature. And instead of 3 millimeters, I'm going to change it to 2 millimeters. And then click OK. And then notice, again, what's cool is this fillet was applied earlier before I mirrored it to the other side. But because this is a parametric modeling system, if I apply a change to a step backward in time, it permeates forward in time? I don't think that's propagates forward in time. There we are. To create all the necessary changes. Look at that. There's our servo. Pretty cool. Now, let's create the servo horn. That goes on top of the thing. All right, so first step, create sketch. Actually, I could hit create sketch, but we're going to be fancy. I'm going to hit C for circle, and then I'm going to click this top surface here. So it automatically started creating a sketch, and it's automatically starting to create a circle. Same is true for R for rectangle, etc. So I'm going to click when I see the center of this thing. I'm going to see a blue circle symbol. I click and expand open, and I don't want to make it 13.1. The measurements won't be perfect for that. I'm going to make it actually 13, which is a little confusing, but that will work. Notice there's a little bit of disparity between the two rings. Okay, I'm trying to drink water here. Hold on. Oh, God, that's better. All right, now, E for extrude. Click the circle. We're going to extrude it upward by 8.9. Enter. Operation was set to join, by the way. It's a little bit janky looking. And again, this isn't exactly what the servo horn looks like. But what it will do for us is make it easier to make the model for the servo horn, because that's all that matters. All right, here's where it's going to get a little fancier. I'm going to click Create Sketch, and I'm going to click on top of this circle that we just extruded. Now, first step, I'm going to hit, trying to make the top and the bottom of the servo horn. X for construction, L for line, and I'm going to click the center and come straight up by 27.2. I'll zoom out so you can see it. So 27.2 upward. Make sure it snaps if you see that parallel symbol, which means I'm parallel to the y-axis. That's what I want. I want it going straight upward, parallel to the y-axis. 27.2. Hit enter. Now we're going to draw a circle, but a different type of circle. So C for circle, X to inactivate construction, and I'm going to select 2-point circle. I'm going to click the top of this. I don't know what my measurement is. I believe it's 8. I'm going to click the top of this, and I'm going to come straight down. Notice I'm snapping. I'm going to keep that X showing up, which means I've snapped to the line I just created, and type in number 8. Enter. There we go. Now, we're going to make another line. We're going to go L for line. And by the way, I want to make sure I don't snap to the body, because notice I have a 13.1 and a 13. I'm just going to turn off body 2 for now, so I can only see the circle. So now I'm going to snap it to this left side of the circle, which is right on the red line. I have an X. I'm going to come up, and I'm not going to click the circle again until I see a specific symbol. And that's the symbol I'm looking for. That's the tangent symbol. See that little circle with a line on top of it? That's the symbol I want. That means that my line is touching the circle only at one point. Boom. And I could mirror it, but I think it's easiest just to do this on the other side. So I'm going to click the other side here. See when I see the X. And I'm going to click up here again when I see that tangent symbol. Okay. Now, we're going to make just two little holes that we could put screws through for our servo horn. So we're going to locate those appropriately. X for construction to turn it back on. There it is. It's on now. It's blued. L for line. Click the top. Come straight down. I'm going to type in 2.9. Enter. Did I do it right? Yes, I did. See how it's coming straight down to there? And I'm going to make another line. L for line. I'm going to click the top nya. And I'm going to come straight down to nya. And I'm going to make this one 12.2. Enter. Okay. Now, we're going to make circles at the ends of these two lines we just created. C for circle. X to inactivate construction. Here's our first one. There it is. So this 2.9 dot, you know, this is the center. I don't want that one. I want this one up here. I'm going to make this 1.4. Enter. I did not type 1.4. Let's do that again. So again, I could just double click the measurement right there. 1.4. Enter. There it is. C for circle. I'm going to do that again. Boom. Click here. 1.4. Enter. Now, we can do this all on the other side. Of course, I don't want to redo all this work. That's a waste of time. So let's mirror all this work to the other side. But we need a mirror line to mirror it across. So we're going to make that line. X for construction, L for line. You don't need a construction line, but just good practice. I'm going to go just from here to here. You don't have to go the full distance. You can. Boom, like that. I just need a mirror line. Now, let's mirror. Click the mirror symbol right now. And then let's select all the things we wish to mirror. This circle, this line, our little circle here, our little circle there. And then now we've got the 5 objects we wish to mirror. Let's click mirror line. And I'm going to click this line, and there it is, mirrored to the other side. Hooray. Okay. Now, we are going to extrude this stuff, this thing downward. So I'm going to hit E for extrude. I'm going to click this profile, this profile. I'll snap to a top view so it's easier to see. This profile and this profile. And now I'm going to turn body 2 back on so I can see what's going on. And I'm going to take this thing. I'll click this dot just so you can see where I'm going. And we're going to take this down by negative 3.2. There you go. Notice we're getting a little bit of this janky geometry. That's intended. Because if you look at the very top of your servo horn, it'll never show up in this camera. That's basically what it looks like. And I want a good press fit for our plastic part on the servo horn. It'll make it nice. Okay, operation set to join. That's great. Now, oh God, like I'm all dark now. I'm looking at my window because the lighting changed. Whatever, I'll deal with it. So, all right, now we're almost done with the servo horn. Almost done. Then I'll take a break and adjust my lighting. So now we're going to hit R for rectangle. I'm going to click the top surface here. By the way, look, make sure your stuff matches up with mine. Should look like that. So again, I clicked, I'll hit escape just to be sure. R for rectangle. I click this. Now, we're going to make a square on top of this thing. I'm going to click, make sure I don't want a 2-point rectangle. I'm going to change to a center rectangle. Click the center here. And I'm going to expand up. I'm going to make this 18, tab 18. Then hit enter. Okay, now we're almost done. One more step. I'm going to hit E for extrude. Click the top here. Click the bottom here. I'm going to take this down by negative 0.9. Now, there it is. That decently approximates the shape of our servo and the servo horn on top. And again, if you have a different servo, you don't have to model every little detail. You just model the important stuff. You do want to get whatever servo horn you're using modeled appropriately. Use a caliper. Makes your life easier. This is another thing that just comes with practice, but like I have kind of exaggerated some measurements intentionally just so that pieces fit better together. There's no way to describe this briefly. It just works better that way. All right, so we got our servo done. Next step in line is we are going to make legs for our little turret. Let's make legs. This is far easier than this step. All right, first step. Let's clean up our view here. I'm going to collapse the sketches. I'm going to uncollapse the bodies as well and collapse down the large servos just to make our space prettier here. I'm going to right click and select new component, and I'm going to call this component legs. Now, pro tip, by the way, if you ever leave Fusion, you close it and you reopen it, what it will do by default is activate the entire build. You don't want that. That makes navigating through timelines a nightmare whenever you get to large builds. So every time you come back into Fusion, come back and activate the previous component you are working on. You're probably going to forget. I still do all the time. Yay. All right, so now let's make the legs. Again, this is what they're going to look like. So let's make them like that. Actually, I'm going to make ours a little bit different. All right, first step, we're going to create a sketch on the bottom surface. Oh, one other thing, there's a difference between using a free orbit like this, and so that's down here in this little tab. I click this little drop down arrow. There's constrained orbit versus free orbit. You kind of pick and choose whichever one works better for you. There's pros and cons to both. All right, so that being said, I'm going to sketch on this surface here. So create sketch, click on that surface. And now I'm going to hit R for rectangle, and I want 2-point rectangle. I don't want construction on, so that is not blue. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to expand this and make it 10, tab 10, enter. And now I'm going to extrude this by 10. So I'm going to click this profile and this profile. I want to keep the hole there, and I'm going to extrude it downward by 10. 10 by 10 by 10 cube with a little hole in it. Okay, now, next part. We're going to create the legs that come down from this cube. So I'm going to click Create Sketch, and I'm going to sketch on the side surface of this block we just created. Now, we're going to make the legs a specific length. I'm going to show you a useful tool to do this. We're not going to do it in our typical way. So I'm going to hit X to turn on construction, L for line. Just going to come down here-ish. Doesn't matter where. All that matters is I'm underneath this. A little bit of distance. I'm going to come down. And I'm going to go straight across to about here-ish. Doesn't matter the length. What matters is it's at 0 degrees. And then left click or hit enter, and then if you left click, you need to hit escape to stop drawing lines. Now, let's X to inactivate construction, L for line, click this corner here, come straight down. I don't care about the length. Actually, before we do that, let's dimension this line. So D for dimension, click this bottom surface, click this line, boom. So 2 clicks and then now a 3rd click. Click between the two anywhere. So I'll click right about here. And I'm going to dial in the number 80 because I want the distance between here and here to be 80. So now, escape to stop dimensioning. L for line. Click this corner. Come down. Yay, now this is what I wanted to do. Now, I don't care about this length here. What I do care about is the angle. So I'm going to hit tab and I'm going to type in 45. I want this to be at a 45-degree angle. Now I'm going to click when I see it intersect the line we just drew. Boom, click. By the way, if you didn't make your line long enough, so I drew one line, I'll hit escape. If you didn't make your line long enough, you could just hit X for construction, L for line. You can make this longer if you need. Just notice the parallel, the two blue lines are on. The parallel constraint is active because I want this line parallel to that line. All right, let's make the other line. L for line, X to make sure construction is off. Click here, come straight down. I want it to do two things. I want it to intersect this line down here with an X. There's something else I want. I'm looking for a constraint to show up here, which means that it's parallel to that. It's not giving it to me. There it is. You see that line now? It snaps. Those two blue lines show up on my line. Now it means that this line is parallel to that line. So I want them to be parallel. You can see those two parallel symbols lining up. So I want the parallel symbol to show up, and I want the X to show up. Now I click. Okay, that's the end of that line. Now, I can't extrude this yet because if I hit E to extrude, I can't extrude it. Why? Because it's not a closed profile. Our profile has a dotted line down here. Does not work with a dotted line. So I'm going to draw another line, L for line, and I'm going to connect this part to that part. Hit escape to stop drawing lines, E for extrude, click that surface, and I'm going to extrude it to the other side. Remember the important point when I do this, I go extent type, I change it to object, I click this block here, operation set to join is right, then click OK. Now, yay, we've made some legs, but there's some adjustments I want to make here. This is a little thin for my liking. So if I wanted to make it thicker, you'd think, well, I could just hit E for extrude and click this face, and then I could extrude it outward, but it does this. I don't want that. I want this flat profile here to be maintained. So I'll click cancel. The better way to do it is I'm going to click modify, offset face, and I click this face, and now I dial in 3. And see how it maintains that profile? So just a nice way. I could have drawn it this way from the get-go, but I did want to introduce you all to the offset face tool. Now I click OK. Now, let's give our leg some curves. So, how do we do that? Well, we're going to hit F for fillet. And I'm going to click this line here and this line here. And I am going to curve this with a radius of 5 since the total diameter was 10. And notice that completely rounds it out. But there's one issue. If I print this on its side, and I'll show you more about this in a second, the amount of surface that's in contact with the plate is kind of low. That's low bed adhesion. And this angle isn't that great for printing. Again, I'll show you more what I mean in a second. For now, what I want you to do and understand is when I do a fillet, I like a tangency weight of 2. Look at the difference. You see how the roundedness comes out a little bit more? So let me change the tangency weight back to 1. Look at that. Here's tangency weight of 2. Look at that. You might not like the shape as much. This I get, but this is just easier to print, at least when you're printing in the top-down plane. Then I'm going to click OK. Now, likewise, I'll show you what the tangency weight of 1 looks like on the other side. So I'll click F for fillet, and I'm going to click. I want to select just these two edges here, but notice the pesky servo it's like snapping to that instead. I can't get that. So I'm just going to come over here to my large servo eyeball. Click it and turn it off. Now I can easily select this line. I'll rotate about. Select that line. And I'm going to fillet them by 5. Now this time I'm going to leave the tangency weight to 1. And I will show you why in a second. So it's okay here because there's a lot less surface. What matters is I have a bigger, flatter surface in contact with the plate here, which should make the bed adhesion a little better. All right, so there's our leg. Click OK. Now, one more thing I want to do to this leg. 2 more things. First of all, I'm going to put 3mm screws through this. And I don't want there to be a lot of wiggle room between the screw and the leg. This is too much space. So let me show you how much space. If I click Inspect, and then, so this tool up here, or hit I'll close that, or I hit key letter I, and I click the circle. Look at the diameter, that's 4.5. That is far too big for a 3mm screw. Now, I don't want the screw to thread to this. I don't care about that. What I do care about is just the play between the screw hole and the screw itself. So let's shrink this down. So we're going to use that offset face tool again. So I'm going to click modify, then offset face, and I'm going to click this sketch here, and I'm going to type in 0.7. Then click OK. So again, that was modify, offset face. Now if I hit I for inspect now, let's look at the circle. 3.1 is the diameter. Well, that's actually still a little too much for a 3mm screw, because this is probably going to shrink a little bit. In fact, it's definitely going to shrink a little bit. So I'm going to make one small change. Don't do another offset and change that. Here's a better way. Come down to your timeline, right click, edit feature, and as opposed to offsetting it by 0.7, let's offset it by 0.6. Enter. Now if you hit I for inspect, click the circle, 3.3 diameter, that's a pretty good, there's a little bit of, just a little bit of space between the screw and the screw hole. That is perfect. Now one more thing, I'm using countersunk screws on this. It's what I recommend in the build, which I'll have in my parts list in the next video. I want to make a countersink hole so the screw fits flush into this leg. So here's how we do that. I'm going to click hole. I click the underside. I'll snap to a bottom view. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to drag the center of this hole and it'll snap, boop, to our hole. Now here's the measurements you want. First of all, hole type. I want it to be countersunk. So look at your hole menu here. Hole type, countersink. Hole tab type, simple. This doesn't matter. Drill point, angle. Yeah, that makes our life a little easier. And now, the depth of the thing. All that matters is it goes all the way through. So 10 will do just fine. The size of the head, change that to about 6. That's pretty good for most countersunk screws. And I want the diameter of the hole to match, well, the diameter of the hole, 3.3. And take a look at that. You see what this is going to do? So when you use a countersunk screw, if you're using a flat screw, don't do this step because then it's going to look terrible. But if I'm using a countersunk screw, it's going to nestle inside here, and that'll look great. Then click OK. And actually, this thing is ready to print right now. I'll print one out and I'll show you what it looks like. But let's complete the turret. Let's complete the legs of the turret because there's 4 of them and they're at an angle. So let's do all that. So the first thing I want to do, I'm just going to turn on my large servo for a second just so you guys can orient yourselves. And there's a large servo, here's a leg. So let's get oriented. So, well, sorry, we are oriented. Now let's orient the leg. So let's do this. I'm going to turn off the large servo. Click this tool or hit key letter M for move or copy. I'm not going to click until I see this thing snap such that the little blue dot appears in the center. Click. Now I'm going to click this tool here to activate the rotation, and I'm going to type in -45. Enter. Look at that. There it is. Nicely rotated into position. Now let's move it up top so we can see where we're oriented. Actually, let's do it like this. We're going to hit M for move or copy. And I'm going to click again when I'm snapped, when I see the blue dot snapped to the center. See, I'm just, in order to get that effect, I'm actually just inside of the circle for the hole. So I'm right there. I click. I want to make a copy of it. If I try to move it in place before clicking create copy, that option disappears. So in order to create a copy, you first have to have the original object located in place. Now you click create copy. Now I'm going to click and drag this up. Boop, 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 boop. And we want to know exactly where this thing needs to go. I'll turn the large servo eyeball back on. And when you drag these arrows, the scale The gradation of how far it moves when you drag it up or down changes depending on the scale. By the way, one important thing, let's make sure I'm here, grids and snaps. I have incremental move set on. I don't like free move, incremental move. So it's going to move it in discrete units. So again, that's this little option down here, grids and snaps. I have incremental move turned on. If I click this arrow and drag up and down, it's going to move it in units of 1 when I'm at this scale. If I zoom in a little bit more, it moves it by 0.5. I want it to move by 0.1 millimeters, so I'm going to zoom in even more. And then now I click and drag, and boom, boom, boom. Look at that. At exactly negative 9.8 millimeters, these two things are centered, which makes sense because if you recall, they're 4.9 millimeters away from the x-axis. Okay, so we've got it the right distance apart, but now we also need to rotate it. So I click this icon here, the rotate icon, and I can either drag it in place or type in 90. Then click OK. Now, this is going back to what I said earlier about the fillet. I filleted this with a tangency weight of 1 because if I didn't, these two edges would run into one another a little bit. Notice this edge is going to run into this a little bit, but that's okay because this is just gonna, I'll just move it, don't do this, but I can just move this over a little bit. This thing's just gonna sit out from the center of the hole just a titch, which is just fine. We got wiggle room here. So it's gonna sit out like here. I could have made it more specific to it, but I don't wanna make these legs that thin, and I wanted to make this tutorial simple. Relatively simple, considering this is like a 2-hour process. All right, cancel. So now let's put these legs on the other side. So now I'm going to hit move or copy. Actually, no, let's not do it that way. I'm going to snap to a top view. Let's mirror these two legs to the other side. So I'm going to click create, select mirror, click this leg and this leg. On my mirror menu, my object type is set to bodies. Come down to mirror plane, activate that. Now, I want to mirror them about this plane that's kind of, here it is out here, but it's hidden in here. So again, once I click and activate mirror plane, it wants to know which plane do I wish to mirror it about. So I'm going to left click and hold. And when I do that, this little menu shows up. I'm going to select the YZ plane. There you go. And that mirrored it to the other side. Operation new body. Your legs are done. So you can print these out right now. And let me give you just some tips. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like when I print it in the Bamboo Studio. So I go to File, 3D Print, which you can do in this case because we're only printing one subcomponent. I select the leg. I go to my application. I want to use, in this case, I'm not going to use my Prusa. I'm going to use the Bamboo. And format set to 3MF. That's great. Refinement settings, by the way, usually I set it to high. Don't know what that means. I assume that means higher quality. No idea. And I'm going to click OK. Now let's export it to the Bamboo. All right. So now, I do not want to print the leg like this. That does not make sense. So we're going to do the following. First of all, I'm going to resync to my Bamboo. And I'm going to look for, this material here, this like metallic gold, which is kind of a cool color. I'm going to go to Objects. Change this to 2. Now I'm printing it out in that nice color. And I'm going to lay this on its surface, on this flat surface. So I click the object, click, lay on face, and I click this face, and boom, there it is. So now let me explain this tangency weight thing. And if you want to make more of these, so now I would just click it and Control C, Control V, and make a couple of them, drag them in place, blah, blah, blah. All right. So anyway, here's just a single leg that's going to be printed. So when I slice it, I'll click Slice Plate. See what this tangency weight is going to do for us? So I'll show you from the side view. The tangency weight of 2 here changes the roundedness of this edge. A tangency weight of 2 when printed in this plane prints better. On this side, and this other side here, I'll get out of the, let's get out of the, here, let's look at the prepare view. It's a little bit easier to see. A tangency weight of 1, which is over here, has a little bit of a tougher job printing, especially down here. But the bigger problem is it's the bed adhesion. If you use a tangency weight of 2, there's more flat surface to stick on the bed. You might need supports to print this, so if you go to global and I'll just turn on supports, I can enable supports. I'll show what it looks like with supports. It's going to create a little bit of supports between it and the bed for bed adhesion. It's also going to create supports for the hole. Depending on your printer, you don't need them. Depending on your printer and how good you are with your settings, you probably don't need them. I'm just going to print it like this. And when I come back, let's see what the leg looks like. All right, the servo leg printed out. And if you look at what you've printed out, you'll notice a difference where the tangency weight was 2 and the tangency weight was 1. That you'll find that the tangency weight of 1 didn't print out as neatly. But again, the advantage of the 1 tangency weight is it creates a little bit more space between the leg and the servo. Now we're going to create a bracket that fits on top of our servo, and that is going to join to our leg using a bolt, and then we put a nut inside here. We inset it into this little space, screw them together, and now we have a stable base. So let's make that bracket. First step in our process, as usual, we are going to right-click on the overall name and select New Component. And we're going to call this Servo Brackets. Done. Now, create sketch. Click this particular tab right here. Click that. Now, when you create a new component, that component doesn't understand that the other shapes exist. So what I mean is, like, I could turn these two things off, and again, this is what your new component is seeing. It doesn't understand that any of this previous stuff exists. So we need to acknowledge some of it. So I'm going to hit P for project. So key letter P again, and I'm going to click anywhere inside this rectangle that turns red. And then we're also going to click this outer ring here, this outer circle here, and do the same thing on the other side. Click here, and this circle here. 5 geometries selected. Click OK. Now, let's turn some stuff off here. I'm going to turn off the eyeball for the large servos, turn off the eyeball for the legs, and this is what we're left with. This is much cleaner and easier to work with. Now, we don't want, if I print this bracket, it is plastic, it is going to shrink, and it's going to not fit over our servo. So let's make a little bit of space between the bracket and the servo. So hit key letter O for offset. I'm going to click on the line, and notice it selects the entire thing. This is because chain selection is activated, which means all the connected lines are also selected. So I click that line, it selects the entire box, and I'm going to offset this by only 0.2 millimeters. Just a tiny little offset. Now, we're going to use that geometry. I'm going to hit key letter L for line. I'm going to click where I intersect not the projected line, but the offset line we just created, the black line. So I'm going to click here when I see the triangle symbol, come straight up, and I'm going to type in 0.9 and then hit enter. By the way, I meant to make that a construction line. I can change that after the fact. And this is a little hard because I want to select not this line, but this little line here that turns blue. Oh, not that one. There it is, like that. I can hit X. I can select a line, now hit X, and it becomes a construction line. Not important, just wanted to point that out. All right, R for rectangle. X to inactivate, or just make sure construction is off. I click this dot, and I'm going to drag open. I'm going to make this 1.8 tall, tab 6.2 wide. which is going to give us just enough clearance for that tab on the servo. All right, now let's mirror this to the other side. Mirror, and I'm going to select this line, and this line. I'm going to activate mirror line field. Click the mirror line here, which shows up. If there isn't a mirror line there, coming from like our origin plane, you can just draw a line. So this little line that shows up here mirrors it to the other side. Click OK. There actually isn't much more to do for this step. Now, R for rectangle. R for rectangle. I already forgot my measurements. Okay, there they are. R for rectangle. Select center rectangle. We're going to click the center, and we are going to make this 26 tall, tab 57 wide. Enter. All right, looking pretty good. Now, let's extrude this by, we're going to hit key letter E for extrude, and I'm going to click this outer, like in here between these two lines, and I'm also going to click in here, and that looks right. So I'm going to extrude this. I'll show you which direction we want to go. If I turn on the eyeball for the large servo, look, I want to bring this thing upward, right? So I'm going to extrude it upward by 6. And there we go. Look how much we got done with just a couple steps. This is crazy, right? Click OK. And I'm going to turn the, actually no, let's leave, I take it back again. Turn off the large servos. Gone. Okay, so now we're going to create the little space that the nuts go into. So we're going to hit, my puppies are going to fly everywhere because there's probably deer outside. You two need to calm down. All right, so we're going to project these holes so that we can line up the nut with them. So we're going to click Create Sketch, click the side surface. Now, I am going to project this entire hole. P for project. Don't click the ring, click inside the cylinder. Then click OK. Now I'm going to snap to a right view. So again, P for project, click inside the cylinder. Now you can see these little purple circles that indicate the corners of our circle. All right, X for construction, L for line. And I'm going to make a line, a diagonal, going from side to side. And this is just so I can find the center of that. Now, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make a rectangle. R for rectangle. X to turn off construction. We're going to select center rectangle. I'm going to click on where I see the triangle symbol, which means I'm in the middle. And I'm going to expand open. Now, a standard M3 nut typically has a thickness of about 2.4 to 2.5 millimeters. But we need to make this even thicker, which you'll understand in a second. So I'm going to make this 2.8 millimeters tall by tab 5.7 millimeters wide. Enter. Now we're going to make this thing on the other side too. X for construction, L for line. I'm going to draw a line going from here to here to make just a mirror line. And we're going to mirror, click mirror. And I'm going to click these lines of the rectangle we just made. So we're mirroring all these lines. I'm going to activate the mirror line field. I'm going to click the mirror line and mirror it to the other side. Now, we're going to extrude these all the way through. E for extrude. Click this, click this. I'm going to rotate my view around. Change extent type to object. I click the other side, and there we go. It's extruded all the way through. Operation, by the way, make sure it's set to cut because I want to cut this out, and then click OK. And there's only one more step, and this bracket's already done, which you can print out right now if you wanted. So we're going to fillet this just to make it look a little bit nicer. F for fillet. I click this edge, all these 4 edges, this edge, and these other 2, boom, boom, a distance of 5. In here, I actually don't care about the tangency weight. This is just a personal preference because now I'm printing it top down, so this fillet here doesn't affect how it prints because it prints in this plane. Okay, I guess I'll go with tangency weight of 2 this time, just to kind of match things up. And then I'll click OK. Now, here's my point about printing. You can print this without any supports at all because it's going to create a string, a bead of plastic that's going to bridge from there to there, and it's actually going to work pretty well. But it is going to sag a little bit, and because it sags, that's going to compress that 2.8 millimeters down to about 2.6-ish or 2.5-ish, which is just the right distance to hold the nuts in place. And here, I'll turn on the other parts. And that's it. So you can 3D print all your legs and your bracket, and you now have a turret base. See you in the next one. All right, printed out the bracket. This is what it looks like. And so you take the bracket and you slide it on top of the servo like so, and it's going to fit like that. Then you bring your leg. I printed them out again in purple, and a screw and a nut joins these together, and this is how you make your base. Now, we're going to make the platforms that both of the servos join into that create the whole rotational tilt axis of the base. So let's go. As usual, we're going to make a new component. So right-click on the overall build, new component, and we're going to call this platforms. Okay, platforms. Now, let's do one thing. Let's isolate the servos. So I'm just going to turn off the legs, the eyeball for the legs and the servo bracket, just so I don't have to look at those. And it's going to make it a little bit easier to work. Now, we're going to sketch right on top of this part of the servo here, this flat part that we created. So I'm going to snap to a top view, and I'm going to click Create Sketch. Click here. It's going to rotate on me anyway. Oh, that time it didn't. Okay. So now, the size of these platforms, we're going to make them 24 by 58. So R for rectangle. Then I select center rectangle. Click when I snap to the center, and we're going to go 58 tall, tab 24 wide. Boom, first part of it done. Let's extrude this thing up. E for extrude. Click here, click here. We're going to extrude this up by 8 millimeters. So again, E for extrude, extruded it upward by 8. Now, here's the cool part. This is why part of the reason we made this servo horn so precisely. We're going to actually cut the servo horn into this body, and thus these two will fit together perfectly. Love this technique. So I'm going to snap to a left view here, and I can click Move or Copy here, or hit key letter M. M for Move or Copy. Click the center. Click the downward arrow. Type in negative 3.2. Oh, maybe positive 3.2 then. Positive 3.2. There we go. All that matters is I want this thing, this platform, perfectly flush with the top or the bottom of the servo horn. Then click OK. Now, here's a cool thing. We're going to cut the servo horn into this thing. How do we do that? Well, we go to Combine. I click the platform first. Now I click the servo horn, which is attached to our servo. I'm going to change operation to Cut. And I want to keep tools. Boop. Keep that on because I don't want to get rid of the servo after we cut it out of it. And yeah, looking good. Now we're going to make some screw holes for this. So I'm going to click Create Sketch, click the top here. And I'm going to hit key letter P for project. And I'm going to rotate under. I'm going to click this horn here and this horn here. And notice these screw holes, if I could get a better view, these screw holes now showing at the top of this. They showing at the top of it. Click OK. Now, that's good because we're going to use these for alignment. Finish sketch. Now, we're going to make holes, and the dimensions are important. So I'm going to click hole, and we're going to select in your hole tab, you're going to select from sketch, multiple holes. I'm going to change it to countersink, and now we're going to click the place where we're going to make the holes at. So, nya, and there, and there. And here's our dimensions. We want to go all the way through the platform. So I'm going to make this 8. and the size of the screw head. And these are the screws I recommend you'll get off Amazon. They're just small, technically wood screws, I believe they are. 4.4. And I'm going to change the size of the hole to 2.2. Now, these are M2 screws, M2 wood screws. But again, I don't want to thread the screw to the platform. It'll thread. I want the screw to thread to the servo horn. So I don't care that it grabs the platform. That's just one more thing in my way. All right, that looks pretty good. And yeah, I'm liking it, and I'm going to click OK. Now, something else I want to do. Clearly, we got to take care of some stuff here. That's all right. And I cut through my servo horn too. It doesn't matter. All right, I'm going to turn off the body for large servos. Now, I want to sink this servo horn into the platform a little deeper. Let me show you what that looks like, right? Here's the platform already printed. This is going to set into it a bit. I want this to join and press into it so I don't have any space. It sits in pretty deep. So we're going to inset that a little bit. So I'm going to use one of my favorite features. They're all my favorite feature. We're going to select modify, and then we're going to select offset face. And I'm going to click this face, and this face, all three of those faces. And I'm going to take them up by negative 1.6. I'm pulling all those faces upward. Okay. Now, that servo horn is going to nestle in there nice and snug. That's going to create a better fit. All right. Now, actually, this bottom platform is decently done. I'm going to make a copy of this platform. So I'm going to come up here, activate my overall build, turn on the large servo, and I'm going to move the two of these things upward and over. So, first thing, we're going to select Move or Copy. I'm going to click the center of the platform we just created. I'm going to click the servo 2. And before I move anything, remember, you always have to click Create Copy first. So now that I've clicked Create Copy, I'm going to rotate the body like nya. Then I'm going to drag it upwards. And notice I have it perfectly snapped at 33. So I want this thing perfectly flush on top of here. And I'm going to click this arrow and drag it over. And that's going to be dragged over 25. Our measurements might not be exactly the same depending on where you clicked it. But what matters is you can see this thing perfectly on top like that. And then click OK. Now again, what you should have done, by the way, see how this line shows up? Now it disappears? I don't know. That's Fusion. And it has never changed in any updates, so I'll just deal with it. Now, if I notice that, okay, I had to activate my overall build in order to move both the platform and the servos. But this is going to make my organization all whirling dervish. I don't like it. So I'm going to show you what I mean. If I click the bodies tab here, I have these two things called body 1, body 2. I don't like that. So I'm going to take body 2, left click on it, drag and hold, and just going to drag that and drop that into large servos because it's a servo body. Now this body here, I'm going to click, left click and hold, drag and drop it into the platforms category because it's a platform. Now, open up my large servos. Open up my bodies. Now I'm going to give these names. And I double click on the name, then I like double or triple click it, not exactly sure. And I'm going to make this thing the rotate servo. Click. And I'm going to click within this, click again. So I clicked and then I single clicked that time. Now I'm going to call this tilt servo. All right. Now, I'm going to collapse that and collapse that because clean up your menus, for the love of God. Clean up your menus. Now, come to platforms. Expand that. Expand bodies. I have no words today. I'm going to click in here, click in there again. I'll call this tilt platform. And then I will click here. And then I will click again. And I will call this, this one's the tilt platform. Hold on. This is the rotate. Highlight that. This is the rotate platform. And this guy, nya, is the tilt platform. The tilt platform. Okay. Yay, that's much better. Okay. Looking good, actually. Looking good. Now, we need a way to join these two together because this is not going to float in midair on top of that. I'd hate to disappoint y'all. All right, so let's do that. Let's make a screw hole to join these two things together. So I'm going to click. By the way, let's go and activate the platforms now. So that way this bit is isolated. That's much better to look like. I'm going to snap to a bottom view. I'm going to click Create Sketch, click the bottom surface. And here we go. I'm going to make a rectangle. X for construction. R for rectangle. I click when I'm centered there. Triangle symbol again means I'm centered on this line. Click, drag open. I'm going to make this 4 inward, tab 8 wide. Enter. And now I'm just going to mirror. Let's see, which way can I do this? Let's just do this again on the other side. R for rectangle. I click here. No, let's do it like this. C for circle. Click here, and I'm going to make this. It's okay if it's construction. I'm going to make this 3.3. Enter. All right, now let's mirror this to the other side. Maybe you all know where I'm going with this. We're going to mirror this to the other side, and that's going to become the guideline for our screw hole. So I'm going to select mirror. Click the circle. Select here, mirror line. Click the mirror line. Now I've mirrored it to the other side, and I click OK. Now, let's create the screw holes for this part. So, different size screw holes. Click hole. I click the center here and the center here. And by the way, I can click multiple sketches because I had that selected previously. We want to be on from sketch multiple holes, not at point single hole. Click here. Click here. And I am going to change these dimensions to 22 because I want this to go all the way up and through. And I'm going to make the head size 6 millimeters. And I'm going to make this 3.3 wide. 3.3. And there we go. And then click OK. Now, again, I want my screw. Here's my M20s, okay? I want my screw to pass through this first hole easily, but thread into the second hole. So we need to change some dimensions here in order to do that. So I'm going to turn off the eyeball for my rotate platform, leaving on my tilt platform. And I'm going to collapse this in by 0.2. So we're going to go to Modify, Offset Face. Click this cylinder, click that cylinder. And I'm going to type in 0.2 and then click Enter. And now if I inspect it, this hole is going to be about 2.9 millimeters wide. Now that's a little big for an M3 screw, in particular because I'm going to be printing this on, here I'll show you. It's going to print on this plane. Well, I can't rotate it the way I want to easily. I'll have to change how I'd rotate it, but I don't want to confuse folks. So it's going to be printing on its side like this. Holes don't shrink much when it's print on its side. But the thing is, because I'm using such a long screw to go through here, if I made it a much smaller diameter, even 2.8, that screw is going to be kind of a pain, especially for a kid to tighten through that. So I go 2.9 here. All right, now let's make a couple modifications, and these are actually going to be ready to print too. So I'm going to turn my rotate platform back on. And now, next step, let's make some fillets. So I'm going to click close because I'm done with the hole or done with the offset. If I click this line here, I could check its measurement. Notice that its measurement is 24 millimeters. So I want to round this edge all the way through. So that means I need a 12 millimeter fillet. So I click fillet and I'm going to click. No, I don't want that edge clicked yet. I don't know why I clicked that because I already had it selected. So I unselected that. Click this edge, 2 edges selected. this edge, and this edge. And I'm going to fillet all these by 12. And then now I get a perfectly rounded edge. This is just to make it look nicer. Click OK. Don't worry about the tangency weight on those. All right, so tangency weight was set to 1, by the way. You can change that if you like. All right, now let's give this some more nice rounded edges. So I'm going to hit F for fillet again. I'm going to click this edge loop and click this edge loop, and then click here, this edge, and finally this edge right there. So I have 9 edges selected in total. Again, trying to show you exactly what all I selected. All right. Now, we're going to fillet this all by 1.4. And what this does is gives everything here a nice rounded edge. Notice I'm kind of impeding upon, I'm not sure, but encroaching upon the screw holes, which I don't like. And if you recall, when you're printing on a particular plane, I don't like a tangency weight of 1. So I'm going to change the tangency weight to 2, which has less encroachment upon the screw heads, and it'll make it a cleaner print. And then click OK. Now, one quick thing, by the way. If you print this as it is right now, at least in my case, I will find that the servo horn didn't perfectly fit into our platforms. And it's because I made it a little too small. Now, there's some important modifications you might need to make for your own, specific to your printer, etc. So do pay attention to this part because the fit is so important. So first of all, again, this is a nice way to remind you of the utility of the timeline. I'm going to come back and activate my large servos component by clicking the eyeball to the right. Now, over here, if I come down to my timeline, I click this sketch. Notice it highlights a particular sketch it's relevant to. I don't care about that sketch. I'm looking for this sketch. So you can see how it highlights the overall shape of the servo horn. Now I know that's the sketch I want. So I click that. I see it highlights. That's the sketch I'm after. So right-click on the sketch, and then we're going to select Edit Sketch. And now I'm going to change this. As opposed to 27.2, I'm going to change this to 27.4. And click Finish Sketch. Now, in my case anyway, this is ready to print. Let me go over some other things you might want to do. So if I turn off my large servos, so one thing you can do is change the initial shape of the servo horn to get it to fit perfectly. Other things you can do, I'm going to activate my platforms. I can change the offset. Let's say the fit was a little loose. I can go to Modify, Offset Face, and I can click all of these guys here. I want to unselect that face. I can click all of these faces here and pull them in a little bit or push them out a little bit. You have that option too. So you can change the dimensions of the servo horn, or you can offset face, whatever gets this fit. And that fit is important because you basically want this to be almost a press fit. In fact, ideally it's a press fit. You don't even necessarily need the screws if you get this right. But I know this is tedious, and manufacturing tolerances on these things aren't perfect. So even if you do it exactly right, it might not fit each servo horn the same. So this is where you got to be savvy and modify. And I'm going to click Cancel because I don't want to offset any of that. And we're going to move on to making another bracket in the next section. All right, next part. We're going to make this bracket here, the bracket that joins the top servo, the tilt servo, to the base as well as the platforms, right? We have this bottom bracket here, which I call the rotate bracket. Now we're going to make the tilt bracket. And you can see, well, these are basically the same component with some modifications. So we can recycle our work efficiently. All right, so first thing, I'm going to collapse down my bodies and my platforms, clean that up. I'm going to turn on the eyeball for my servo brackets as well as activate the component by clicking the little dot to the right. All right, now here we are. And let's actually turn off the eyeball for the platforms. All right, now this fillet is actually troublesome for me. So let's do a thing here. Let's suppress that fillet. So I'm going to come down to my timeline, right click, and then select suppress features. And now it's nice and flattened. Hooray. So now that I have it like that, I'm going to create a copy of it, but I want to do this in a very particular way. So I'm going to expand my right tab here, and I'm going to look at this thing here, my body. So I'm going to right click it, and I'm going to select create components from bodies. I'm going to give it a name. So I'll click within it, and I'll call it rotate bracket. Now, you can't just move or copy here because you're going to have these two components are going to be connected. And if they're still connected, if you unsuppress the fillet on this body, it's going to propagate forward to the new body, which we don't want to do. So we have to go through this rigmarole. All right, so anywho, we got a rotate bracket. Now, we're going to do this next step. Right click on it and select copy. And then now we're going to select on the servo bracket name. I'm mousing over it. Right click. And then I'm going to select and paste new. And I'm just going to move this over here. It's not going to matter anyway. I'm just going to drag and move it over. Then I'm going to select OK. Now, finally, I'm in a position where I can come down, right click here, and select unsuppress feature. Notice that the old bracket, the new bracket rather, that we created a copy of and moved over, moved on top of it. Oh well, let's just move it out of the way. Now we can move it. So M for move or copy. I'm going to click this top right corner to make sure I've selected the new bracket we made, drag it over, and yay. So again, you can't just move or copy. If you do that and you unsuppress the feature, when you unsuppress it on this one, when you unsuppress it on this one, it's going to propagate forward to this one. That's why I have to do all this. Meantime, let's name this. So I'll call this tilt bracket. Again, can't emphasize this enough, folks. If you're not organized on here, Fusion's going to kill you. In fact, I would say your biggest hurdle is going to be organizational as opposed to technical as you learn this problem. I see it all the time. All right, now let's move this thing in place, but first we need to modify it. So I'm going to hit key letter E for extrude. I'm going to click this face, and I'm going to change extent type to object, and I'm going to rotate over here, click the interface, and I want to change the operation to cut. And then I'm going to select OK. And take a look at that. Now we've gotten our bracket like we would like it to be. Now, F for fillet. Click this edge here and this edge as well. Type in number 5. Click OK. There we go. Look at that. This bracket's ready to move into position. Now, I'm going to go over here and turn my large servos back on. I want this bracket to be located right up here. Show you what it looks like over here, right? I want this bracket up here on top of that servo. Well, we could move it, but there's a much better way to do this. We're going to use the Align tool. So I'm going to go to Modify, select Align, and I'm going to click specifically this corner here. Now notice it's going to kind of oscillate between which plane it picks, right? I don't want this plane. I want it to be parallel to this plane here. So I'm going to click this little corner here, and you can see that the corner we've selected is with respect to this face. Now, I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to click in this corner here. Again, look at the surface right there. Now, it's not perfectly lined up. The two corners are lined up, but it's not exactly where I want it yet. So we got to do a couple things. If I come over to my Align tool, I can rotate it here, boom, 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 change the angle, but that's not right yet. Well, I need to do one other thing. I'm going to flip it. And then now I'll rotate it, and look at that. Notice that's not right at all. That's okay. So look, I clicked the wrong corner, right? You see our problem here? I need to do that differently. So cancel. But that's a good time to, wasn't intentional, but whatever. This is a teachable moment maybe for everybody. All right, I want to use this corner right here. So modify, align. Click this corner on that surface. Boom, like that. And then now I'm going to click specifically in that corner. Ooh, we're looking pretty good, I think. Looking pretty good. We're going to flip it. So flip and rotate, and bam, there we go. Now, click OK. It's not important that it lines up. Who cares? But this does, because it's not going to affect how you 3D print your things. And let's turn all the other components back on. So I'm turning on the eyeballs for the platforms, the legs. I'll activate the overall build. But it does kind of help me orient myself with this build because this is pretty complicated. And if you're not oriented, you're pretty lost. So, all right. So there we are. Let's move on to making the base next. We're going to make this part here, the part that joins to our servo, and you attach all the top parts to. Strap yourselves in because this is going to be a doozy. All right. First thing, you know what I like to do? New components. Right-click, new component. We're going to change the name to base. Base. And let's do some things. I want to kind of get rid of all this extra stuff I'm looking at. So I'm going to turn off the platforms, turn off the servo brackets, turn off the legs. And this is pretty good, but I want to make it even better. I'm going to expand my large servos tab, expand my bodies, and I'm going to turn off the rotate servo. I just want to look at the tilt servo. That's going to make this all far easier to look at. All right, we're going to sketch on top of this servo. So create sketch, top of that servo. By the way, when this shows up, select capture position, because otherwise it's going to move it back to where that first servo was. We don't want that. All right, first thing I want to do, find the center of this servo. Because it's a weird shape, it might not find it perfectly, so I'm going to draw some diagonals. X for construction, L for line. I'm going to go from corner to corner here, boom to boom. By the way, sometimes on Macs, you might not find, I find this happens more on Macs for whatever reason. You might try to draw on this and it doesn't snap to the corners, so in case that doesn't happen, I'll escape just for a second. You have to project it. So P for project, and then you have to project the geometry that you're sketching on. Might happen on PCs too, but I've seen this a lot. So anyway, back to it. We're going to make another diagonal line. We're going to go from corner to corner here. Actually, don't have to do the both of these, but whatever. Let's be thorough. Now, let's make a line. I'm going to move this whole base forward by 15 millimeters. This all makes sense in a second. L for line, click the center. Go to the right by 1.5, making sure it's parallel, going directly to the right. Hit enter. Now, we're going to make our base. R for rectangle, X to inactivate construction, select center rectangle, which is the best rectangle. You're going to click the 15 dot we just created. And we are going to type in 42 tall, and then we're going to hit tab, 92 wide. Hit enter. Hooray. Now, we're going to make these little legs that hang off of this, and will go on the other side of the servo, which is where the servo bracket will attach to. Let me show you what I mean. These little legs here. And that's going to join your base to your bracket and sandwich the servo between. All right, let's do that. But I want to make a little bit of space here. So first thing I'm going to do is just draw a line, X for construction, L for line, click this corner here, and come forward by 0.2 millimeters. Again, if you're not finding that, just project this geometry. Now, R for rectangle, X to turn off construction. Click the end of the dot we just created. And I'm going to come down by 12, and then to the right, tab by 8. So 12, tab 8. Hooray! Let's mirror this to the other side. But in order to mirror it to the other side, I need a mirror line. So X for construction, L for line. I'm going to click the center here. Just come straight down. The distance doesn't matter. Click again. And again, because I left clicked and did not hit enter, I'll click indefinitely. So I'll hit check mark like that. Or I can hit escape, which I'm going to do right now. All right. let's mirror this to the other side. Mirror this tool right here. And I'm going to select our 4 lines. 2, 3, 4. Select the mirror line. Click here. And there it is. I've mirrored it across. Now, this extrusion is going to be a little picky, so do pay attention. First step, doesn't matter the order, but I'm going to hit E for extrude. I'm going to click this top yaw, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy. And then I'm going to extrude all of these by 5. Operation new body, A-OK. Click OK. Now, you will notice I've kind of lost those little legs. I wish to keep those legs there. Well, let's clean up this over here. I'm going to collapse this, collapse that, collapse that. That's better. Expand base. Expand sketches. Turn on sketch 1. There they are. Now, I'm going to extrude these 2 thingies down. E for extrude. Click yaw. Click yaw. Use extent type to object, of course. And I'm going to select the underside. And boom. Now I know it's exactly the length of our servo. Operation set to join. Which, by the way, joins it because I have the base component active. It's only going to join to the active component. This will not join to the servo as well. Click OK. All right. Collapse that. All right. And by the way, because we've intentionally turned on that sketch will remain on. That's getting in my way. So actually, let's expand that again. Turn off that eyeball. There we go. So if you ever have a sketch that's hanging out, that's what you have to do. All right, now, next step, let's make some screw holes. But in order to make the screw holes line up perfectly, we got to project some things. So I'm going to click Create Sketch, click the back of this surface. Oh, I might have mentioned this already, I don't know, but sometimes when you click a thing, it rotates completely off the screen, doesn't make sense. Quick shortcut, double center click your mouse wheel. Bum, bum. And now I can see where I'm at. Now, key letter P for project. Okay, I'm going to click this hole, the circle, and this circle, and this circle. Click OK. There we go. Now I got my hole aligned. Click Finish. Okay, now let's make our holes. Let's make our screw holes. Click the Hole tool. Select from Sketch multiple holes. And I'm going to click here, the center of each of these. Boom, 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 boom. And it's all looking pretty good. The depth actually doesn't matter because who cares, but I don't know, let's set it to 12. Do this the right way. Because now we're only going through this body. Again, it doesn't matter. It's going to go through the servo too, and it will go through the servo here as well because the servo is turned on, but it doesn't matter because the servo is smaller. And then click OK. Now, this is not ready to print yet because we got to modify it and make it pretty and make screw holes on it. So this is not ready to print yet. All right, so we're going to come back to the base, but in the meantime, we're going to make a new component. Right click, new component. And we're going to call this magazine and barrel. All right, now create sketch. Click the top of the base we just created. Now, this is kind of a fun way to do it. C for circle, and we're not going to use a center circle. We're going to use a 2-point circle. So once I select 2-point circle, which is the top left option here, I'm going to scroll over to here, look for my favorite triangle, pull to the right. And I want to make sure, you see that blue line that shows up? I want to make sure I get that blue line to show up first. So with the blue line present, I'm going to type in 42. And the blue line, again, is just telling us that we are perfectly parallel to these lines in this plane. All right, we're going to make 2 more circles. C for circle. Click the center. Type in 24. Enter. C for circle, click the center, pull out, type in 30, enter. Looks good. Now we're going to do 2 extrusions. 2, 2, 2. E for extrude, click this outer ring, type in 6. Boom. Hooray. Now, one more extrusion, but our little circle's gone. We know how to get that back. Expand the tab. Expand sketches. Turn on sketch 1. E for extrude. Click this inner circle. Type in 130. Enter. There we go. You can see the magazine forming already, which is going to become this whole thingy here. Goody, goody. All right. Let's collapse the base. Let's collapse, turn off sketch 1, collapse that. Looking better. Now, we're going to get even fancier here. This is going to be cool. We're going to create 2 intersecting cylinders, which will create both the magazine and the barrel, and they will join perfectly. And it is so satisfying, I promise. Click Create Sketch. We're going to click this front surface. This surface here, this rectangle, boom, it'll snap. Can't see where I'm at. Double center click your mouse wheel. All right, now, C for circle, 2-point circle. And I'm going to click the center when it snaps there with the triangle, pull straight up. Look for that blue line again. So once I see the blue line, I don't touch my mouse. I type in 30, enter. Now it lines up. If you type in 30, then you move your mouse. Let me show you that real quick. Some of you might be trying that. C for circle. If I click here, no. Sorry. C for circle, 2-point circle. If I type in my measurement now, 30. Now look, I can't get that stupid blue line anymore. I don't know why they do it that way. So now I don't know if I'm ever going to be perfectly lined up. So there's an order to this. So I'll Control Z. So C for circle, 2-point circle, triangle symbol, pull up, make sure I get the blue line, have it there, hands off the mouse, 30. Don't touch that mouse. Boom, there it is. There we go, there we go. Now, it's lined up perfectly. C for circle, click the center, regular center circle, 24, enter. Yeah. Now, here is the super cool part. Pay attention, got to do this right. We're going to do an extrusion in 2 directions, and we're going to do it in 2 different ways. E for extrude. Click this circle. We're going to change direction to 2 sides. Now, you might not know which side goes to what, so if I click this arrow, you see how side 1 is changing, right? Look up there. See the distance of side 1 is changing? Okay, so now I know this arrow corresponds to side 1. So with this thing, I'm going to type in, you can either put it here. Oh, no. Put it here. There you go. Put it here or here. This is safer. I'm going to type in 70. Okay. Now for this other one, this is the super sweet part. Extend type, you know what I'm going to say, to object. Now, click that arrow. So if I click it and drag it, I lose it to object. So again, extend type to object. Now, click this cylinder. Boom. Look at that. Now, I do not want operation set to cut. So I'm going to change operation to join. Look at that. Look how cool that is. Bam. Do you have any idea how hard that would be to model all this complicated geometry manually? Nuh-uh. I don't want to do it. So that's all taken care of for us. This is the beauty of mathematical base modeling. Very cool. Now, we need to, clearly, our flywheels ain't going to be able to get to our ball because there's a ball. So we need to make this cut in here. So let's do that. So now we're going to do another sort of extrusion. Create sketch. Click the side profile here. Hooray! It moved. Double center click our mouse. Now we're back. Now, P for project. Project this thingy, nya. So this bottom ring. P for project, click OK. We've projected that. Now, oh my God, what do I even do? All right, so we're going to draw a rectangle. R for rectangle, X to make a construction. Click this bottom corner here. And I'm going to come up 5 by 5. So 5, tab 5, enter. Okay. Now we're going to draw a rectangle here that we're going to use to cut through the barrel. I'll show what I mean. So R for rectangle. R for rectangle. X to turn off construction. Click this dot we just created. And we are going to go 30, tab 40. Enter. Okay, let's drag this thing through. So E for extrude. This time I'm not going to go extend type to object because that gets a little bit wonky here. So you will become proficient with when to do extrusions to object, when to do it, when to not do it, just through brute force practice. I don't have a rule sheet to this yet. All right, so I'm going to click the surface. I'm just going to drag it straight through. And look, we've cut our barrel out. And doesn't matter how far you go, just go through the barrel enough. About to there, click OK. Okay, looking pretty good, right? Looking pretty good. Now, let's clean up the base. So now I'm going to go back to the base, activate that component by clicking the dot to the right of it. And now let's fillet this thing. F for fillet. Click this edge, scroll over this edge, and this edge. And I'm going to fillet these all by 21. There we go. That's looking better. That's looking better. Then click OK. Yeah. Looking pretty good. All right, now we're going to fortify this because this component here, this is going to be flimsy. I've broken plenty of these. I've seen my students break plenty of these. So let's strengthen this component here. So we're going to activate the magazine and barrel. And with that active, we're going to do a thing. We're going to sketch on, not here, we're going to sketch on the base itself. So the top surface of the base. So create sketch, sketch here. Now, let's do the following. Let's project some things. P for project. I'm going to project this rectangle, and I'm going to project this ring. Not up here, but this bottom ring here. Click all that, then click OK. Now, we're going to turn off, for the magazine and barrel, I'm going to turn off the body, like that. This is going to make my life easier. Now, we're going to finish up the geometry of this. Let me kind of take a step back and show what I'm up to. I will turn off the motors and flywheels. I'm going to turn off the motor holder. I'm going to make this solid part here. This part here. All right, so now that we got all that, let's set up our sketches to do so. So L for line. I'm going to go from here. Make sure I'm going straight across. I can see that right angle symbol. When I intersect with an X, I click. I'll do the same thing down here. Boom, straight across. When I see the X, click. I'll clean it up here too. I'm going to go from this right corner here to there. This bottom corner here. I'm not getting... That should be good. Notice this time I'm not getting... now I got the X. So earlier I was getting a different line. Oh, good. Now I'm getting the crosshair, not the X. They should both work. But I want to make sure I get the X. I'm a little scared. So I did that until I got another X to make sure that I intersected that line with the front line. Okay, now we're looking good. So again, hope you all were able to follow that. Leave comments if you can't. Just side note, hats off to anybody who's following this tutorial. My goal was to make this available for free for anybody. Truly, you just got to put in the work to do it. I did try to make this as simple as possible. I truly do teach this to kids as young as 9, but they're with me in person. That's a lot easier. Doing this online, hats off to you, but I hope this is useful. All right, anyway, let's finish this thing up. So now I'm going to let's turn on the body. I'm going to hit E for extrude. I'm going to click, actually here, let's turn the body off. This will be a little bit easier. So turn the body off, E for extrude, click here, and this thing, and this thing. Now I'm going to turn the body on, and I'm going to click this top surface here, change operation to join. And I don't love it because look, it's kind of filling this in. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Select operation set to join. Not even worrying about extend type to object because we're going to clean this up anyway. Click OK. All right. Looking good. So again, this fortifies this piece here. You don't have to do this step, but I guarantee you, you drop this turret once and it's going to break right about here if you don't add some extra plastic here. It just happens. All right, now let's clean this up. And look, there's no way the ball is going to get through here. Well, we can change that easily. So I'm going to create sketch on this front surface here. And now I'm going to extrude. E for extrude. I click the inner ring. This one I'm going to drag through by a specific distance. Click and drag this through. Look, it's cutting everything out cleanly. And specifically, I'm going to go to zooming in. I'm going to that point right there, negative 141. And there we go. Right to, you could see right where it joins the seam of the earlier two-cylinder joinings we did earlier. Click OK. Boom. There you go. That's looking good. Now, we need a way to join all these pieces together. So let's do that. Come over to your base component. Activate that. All right, now, with the base active, create sketch. Click the bottom of the base. I want to get this servo out of the way. So let's do that. Turn off the large servos. Now, let's project some things to line up screw holes. P for project. Click this rectangle here, this rectangle here, and this time I'm going to click the top, like Pac-Man ring. Click that. Click OK. Now, all three of those things should show up on the bottom. This is great because this is, I'll snap to a bottom view. This is where the screw holes are going to go. Okay, let's put the screw holes there then. So, we're going to create some guidelines. X for construction, L for line. Click the center here, come straight down, type in 18. Boom. All right, let's make a circle here. C for circle, click the center. I'm just going to make this 6. It's not going to be that big, but it kind of helps you get the sense of the dimensions you're going to be working with. Okay, now we're going to make another line. L for line. Click when I see this triangle here off this projected geometry. Come straight to the right by 15. And enter. All right. Right side, we're going to do R for rectangle. Click this corner. No, my bad. Escape. L for line. Click this line here. Come in by 3. And enter. Now let's make 2 circles. C for circle. Click here. 6. Enter. 1 more. C for circle. Click here. 6. Enter. Okay. Now, not finished sketch yet. We got to make the same stuff on the other side. But of course, it's more efficient to mirror. L for line. Click this circle here. Come forward to the right. And doesn't matter. This is a mirror line. So I'm just going to draw it like there, come out to here, hit enter. Okay. Let's mirror. Mirror this circle, and this circle, and this circle. And then I'm going to select mirror line, click that line, and then click OK. Now, finish sketch. Now we can make our screw holes. Select hole. From sketch, multiple holes. Make sure we're still set to countersink. Click the center here. Center, center, center. Okay, our dimensions are good. 3.3. The depth, I'm going to set to, well, 12 is fine. It doesn't matter. We could set it to 10. But I actually want this to go all the way through. So let's leave it at 12. Because remember, this is a little bit longer. This is 6 millimeters tall. So 12 gets us all the way through and then some. So 12. One thing I should have changed here. Oh no, 5.1. This should be 6. What the heck was 5.1? Oh no. Click OK. By the way, notice I had an issue that hole size, the outer diameter was set to 5.1. Let's check real quick. What was 5.1? That shouldn't be. I'm guessing it's the base component here. I'm going to edit this feature. Nope, that's 6. I have no idea why that was set to 5.1 because that's the last hole I made. I don't know. All these holes for your 3 millimeter screws, the head size should be 6. I will check the edit when I go through this. All right, anywho. Now again, remember, this diameter here is 3.3 millimeters. That's fine for our non-threading side. We want it to thread to the other side. I'm going to turn off my base, activate my magazine and barrel, and I'm going to make these things smaller. I'm going to select Modify Offset Face. I'm going to click these cylinders. And I'm going to offset them by 0.25. Hit OK. Inspect this. And then you could see the diameter is 2.8. This is pretty good. Now again, this is going to be printed from the top-down plane. At least these two will be. 2.8 is going to shrink a little bit, probably down to like 2.6 or 2.5-ish. So that's plenty. All right. Click. Well, I just measured it just to show you. Close that. So, all right, now, we're not going to print this as one body. That's not going to work. So we're going to split this into 2 bodies. We're going to select the split body tool. Select that. Click the body. And then now I've selected the body I wish to split. What are we going to split it with? Let's split it with the plane. So we're going to select splitting tools. And then I'm going to select this flat surface here. Boom, look at that. Then click OK. Now, this is split into 2 separate bodies. Very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, now that it's split into 2 separate bodies, we can print them in 2 separate ways. So, let's also stylize. It's time we added a little bit of style to this thing, right? Here, I'm a big fan of Cyberpunk, so we had to give it an Arasaka turret thing because there's turrets in Cyberpunk, and they're Arasaka brand turrets. But notice, I'm actually using a specific decal here. I did not draw this. I took this from the interwebs. You can too. So what you need to do is, you can put text on here, but let me show you all the steps. So first of all, step number 1, let's create a tangent plane to this. So construct tangent plane. Click this surface. Now I have a tangent plane to that surface. Click OK. Create sketch on this surface. Boom. Center click 2 times to get me lined up a little bit better. All right. Project. P for project. I'm just going to project this entire thing so I can find the boundaries of it. Now, I could put text on here. And the way you do that, create text. And I would select, go from this corner to this corner. And then I like going align center, align middle. And I can type in text, reverse capitalized. But I don't want to do that. I want to make this cooler. So I'm going to click cancel. Click cancel. Instead, we're going to insert an SVG here. So an SVG stands for a scalable vector graphic. Just look up something you want to put on your turret online. Make sure it's an SVG. Make sure you do it from a reputable website. No free svgs.russia.putin. Probably not a good website. So we're going to go to insert SVG. And I have it on my desktop, the Arasaka SVG. I double click it and you'd be like, where did it go? This happens to me all the time. I'll show you where it is. It's huge. So if I zoom back, there it is. A little too big. So I'm going to scale this thing down by using this little quarter circle here, quarter circle icon. I'm going to click and drag that thing like that. And I'm going to I'll snap to a back view, start dragging this thing in place. Drag. All right. Now, that's not big enough, so let's scale it up and get it just right. Align it up visually. That looks pretty good. Boom. Okay. Yeah, that looks good to me. That looks good and centered. All right, click OK. Okay, now we need to get this thing on this surface. So finish sketch. How do we do that? We can't extrude it to it. That's not going to work. Instead, you need to use the emboss tool. So click create. Click emboss down here about halfway down. Now, I'm going to select our profiles. By the way, if you emboss something you find, you got to make sure that the profiles are nice and closed. You can't use an SVG where the profile isn't a closed surface, right? Like if this was open, if this was not a closed profile, it wouldn't be able to find it and emboss it. All right, so there's all the things. I got all the sketch profiles which I wish to emboss. Now, which face do I wish to emboss it to? Well, I'm going to I select faces over here, and I select this face. Now, super important part here. If you're printing this, you see how it's protruding a lot, right? I don't recommend, if you're doing a multicolor, multi-filament thing, and even if not, I don't go beyond a depth of 0.6 millimeters. So 0.6 depth, click OK. This is just enough overhang to get it to work. So you can print this basically on any plane. In fact, specifically, I want to discuss this. The way you want to print this part's ready to print. So all you have to do is do the same thing to the other side. This part's ready to print right now, but make sure you print the barrel like this. And as far as I've never had to really print it, let's go back. There. All right. Let me, by the way, just to show this again, I'm going to go to orbit and I'm going to change it to free orbit. Now it's not going to flip me, but I prefer constrained orbit for other reasons. So if I print the barrel, I want to print it on this surface like this. And you don't need any supports at all. Just print it straight up. Everything should come out just fine. And I've done it on both a bamboo and a Prusa. Okay, I'm going to go back to free orbit. I'm going to change it to constrained. Snap to a back view, rotate. The barrel, or the magazine rather, I'm going to print like this. This part isn't ready to print yet, but this part is. Oh, with one more modification, one more quick thing. So when the balls are being ejected into the barrel, let me turn off the motors and flywheels and motor holder. I made this little chamfer here, just in case any ball got flung like not perfectly centered and it bounced off the wall. So let's make a little chamfer here. So back here, and now finally, modify, select chamfer. So modify, chamfer, third from the top. Click this inner ring here, and I'm going to type in 3, I believe I picked. Yep, chamfer of 3. And there you go. Finally, this part is ready to print. That was 33 minutes with thankfully changing lighting conditions. I'm sure I look dark now. Whatever. We're like more than 2/3 done. Let's keep it going. Now it's time to make the motors and flywheels. First thing before we do that, let's organize a little bit. Under our magazine and barrel, we have our 2 bodies, but let's name them. So we're going to call this barrel, and we're going to call this part here. By the way, you could see which component it is you're selecting because it turns blue. And we'll call this component here magazine. All right, let's collapse that and collapse that. Now, right click on overall build, new component. And we're going to make motors. Oh, you probably can't see that. Motors and flywheels. There we go. Motors and flywheels. We're going to organize a little better this time. I'm going to make a new subcomponent right away. So under motors and flywheels, I'm going to right click and then select new component, and I'll call this motors. General Motors. Okay, now we are going to create a sketch on the base. So I'm going to turn on the base. I'm going to re-expand my magazine and barrel, expand my bodies, turn off the magazine. We don't need that. That's just going to get in our way. And then now we are going to create sketch on this surface. And we're going to use some reference lines here. So P for project. Be very picky here. I want you to select this bottom line here. This line here. Then select OK. Now, let's collapse this back down and that back down. Gets out of our way. Now, with this line projected, we're going to hit X for construction, L for line, and I'm going to click when I hit the center of this line here, come straight down by 8, enter. Now, this is going to be peculiar, but this just makes it easier to draw and everything. So L for line again, I'm going to go from the end of this line, and I'm going to type in 7.6. Now, from there, I'm going to make a circle. C for circle, X for construction. Click in the end of the dot we just created. We're going to make this 20.4, enter. Now we're going to make a rectangle. R for rectangle, and make sure we select center rectangle. Click, and I'm going to go here, and I'm going to make this 15.2 tab 20.4. Enter. And it should look just like that. Now, we're going to make our motor in one more step. E for extrude, click here, and I'm going to type in 25. And look at that. We've approximated the shape of a motor with just 2 primitive shapes. Pretty cool. Now, create sketch on the bottom of this surface. Drag over so I can see what it is I'm doing. C for circle. Click the bottom when I'm centered and type in 7.6. Enter. Let's extrude this. We're going to make the bottom little nib on the bottom of our motor. E for extrude. Click the bottom. Type in 1.5. Enter. Now, last thing, let's make the shaft of our motor. C for circle. Click here. And again, that was just shortcutting. I didn't need to click create sketch first. It's automatically creating sketch, and it's going to create a circle on that sketch. Click the center, type in 2, because these motors have exactly a diameter of 2. E for extrude, click that, type in 10. And there you go. There's your motor. Now, what is important here is that this motor is centered on the barrel. So, I know that number, but if you didn't know that number, I'll show you how to find out what that number is. So let's move it. M for move or copy. Click the center of the motor. Click the up barrel. And I type in 26.5. Enter. Now, let me show what I mean by center. If I click the measure tool or hit key letter I for inspect, I'm going to click this surface here and not the ring, but the center of the circle, anywhere in the circle. I click there and look, we have a distance of 15 millimeters, so I'm exactly centered between the base and the bottom of the motor. Click close. All right, so we're looking good. Now, we're going to create the wheels. Right click on the overall build. New component. Oh, no. My mistake. I want another subcomponent that belongs within the motors and flywheels. So right click on motors and flywheels. Click new component. And we are going to call this wheels. All right. So now with the wheels component active, I want to make sure these wheels are perfectly centered on the shaft. Well, there's a quick and easy way to do that. Construct. Scroll down to tangent plane. Now I want to make sure I'm decently on the plane I wish to be. So notice I'm looking down the barrel right now. So I'm going to click the shaft here. So now I'm creating a tangential plane to that cylinder, within the left plane, right? Looks good. Click OK. But we're not quite there yet because this plane is on the surface of this shaft. I wanted to cut the shaft in half perfectly. So we're going to offset this plane. Construct offset plane. Click the plane we created and type in -1. And there it is, cutting the shaft in half. Click OK. Now I don't want both of these planes to show up. The first one's getting in my way, and I don't want to accidentally sketch on it. I don't want you to accidentally sketch on it. So expand the wheels, expand construction, turn off plane 1. And here we go. Now we're only sketching on plane 2. So create sketch on plane deuce. There we go. Now, yay, relocate myself, double center click mouse. Okay, let's P for project, the center ring, and the shaft. Yay! Come up and turn off the base, turn off the magazine and barrel, and that's going to be much easier to work with. Okay. Now, couple of things here. First of all, when the ball is squished, it's not a sphere anymore. It's more like an ellipse. So I think that's called an ovoid, the three-dimensional version of an ellipse. I'm not sure. All right. But anyway, I want to grab a elliptical ball. So let's make an elliptical shaped wheel. And I want to do something else. We want to crush the ball so that it grabs it better. So we're going to take care of both of those right now. First thing, this is the center of the barrel, right? Well, I'm going to go a little bit to the right of the center. So X for construction, L for line. I'm going to click the center here, and I'm going to type in number 2. Enter. Now let's make an ellipse on this offset bit. Come up here to create. Scroll down to ellipse. Turn off construction. Let's do it the non-fancy way. I'm going to click there. Oh, see that? Okay, anywho, we're going to click here, left click. I'm going to drag up, and when I'm locked to a plane, I'm going to type in 28 and then not hit enter, but left click. And now pull to the right. Again, notice my construction is off. I'm going to pull to the right, and I'm going to type in 18. Now I can hit enter. There we go. Now, we're looking good. We're looking good. All right, now let's make some lines. L for line. Click down here at the bottom right corner of the shaft. Come straight up by 8. And then left click. And now we're going to keep drawing lines. And I'm going to draw straight across. Notice I'm at a right angle. And when I intersect our ellipse, I click. And now we're going to click here. I'm going to come to the center when I see the triangle, or I could type in 1, click there. I've cut it in half. And okay, now I'm going to click again. Come straight down, just making sure I am in fact in the center. Come straight down by 8. Left click. And you don't have to left click, just showing you a different way, like I don't, draw a line and hit enter, draw a line, then hit enter. You could be a little more efficient this way if you're drawing multiple lines. All right, anywho. Now I want to click not only when I have the X, but I want to see that dotted line, which means I'm lined up with our top line as well. And boom, I'm already starting to see where the flywheel is coming from. But we also need to make these ridges for the flywheels because they're going to grab the ball better. So I'm going to hit escape to stop drawing lines finally. Going to come up to offset. Click offset. Click the ellipse. And I'm going to type in -0.6, giving a small ridge to this. And I don't want to make the ridge too thick because that's going to create a lot more wind resistance. Hit enter to accept that. Now, to complete the ridge, L for line. Click here, come straight down. Boom, when I intersect with the X. Same thing down here. Click here, come straight up. Click again. 0 degrees, I see the X and the dotted line. It means I'm lined up perfectly. Escape to stop drawing. Now, let's make the flywheel. Pretty cool. So, finish sketch. We're going to use the revolve tool. Click revolve. Click this plane. Click this sketch plane as well. So I've selected the profiles that I wish to revolve. Now we're going to select the axis. So I come up here to select axis. Click this axis here. There you go. Now, you can make these wheels a little thicker top to bottom, and a little wider. You can make it crush the ball more. I tried to give you all a good safe wheel that shoots really fast, but is not, there's very small tolerances between all these parts. So I wanted to make it safe in case you needed some wiggle room, but please feel free to experiment. These wheels are not, the ones I'm giving you aren't printed to be the fastest. They're printed to be the fastest ones that they can safely. And I mean safely in that few things will go wrong and they'll still fire quickly. But experiment, I absolutely encourage you. Now, we need to make that ridge. So in order to get that ridge, we need to turn that sketch back on. So I'm going to collapse the construction, expand sketches, and turn on sketch 1. And now here's our sketch. So now we're going to hit E for extrude. I click that sketch, or click that, oh, no, I don't want to do that. All right, doesn't matter. So I click the profile. Now, direction to symmetric, and I'm going to expand it symmetrically by 0.5 millimeters, which of course is going to make the ridge 1 millimeter thick. Now, operation set to new body works just fine. Click OK. Now, I could have done it as a feature as well. Doesn't matter. All right, now let's turn that sketch off. Okay, now let's make an array of these, a circular pattern of them. Come up to Create, scroll down to Pattern. Select Circular Pattern. Click the ridge. Select Axis. Now, I shouldn't have turned off the sketch because I need to find that sketch with which to revolve it around. That's okay. Turn sketch 1 back on. Click the center. And I like about 20, type in 25. About 25 ridges to me looked good. Again, you have a trade-off. More ridges have, well, there's an ideal amount of ridges to best grip the ball because you could make, an infinite amount of ridges. Now you just have a smooth surface again. But ridges also increase the drag. So you want it to grab the ball, but you don't want to increase the drag. It's a trade-off here. This is all optimization. This is engineering. All right, 25, hit enter. Look at that. Yeah. Now, there's a problem. These were new bodies, and I've just created a circular pattern of bodies. So come up to your motor, turn that eyeball off, and I want you to come and expand your bodies tab. Oh my God, we don't want all these bodies. That's too many bodies. Let's fuse these all into one. So first thing, let's turn off that sketch 1 again. Click over, yay, sketch is gone. Let's fuse these all. So I'm going to left click and hold and drag. That didn't work. Left click and hold and drag. Select the whole thing. Yay. Now we're going to select combine. Operation should be set to join. Keep tools. No. Want that unchecked. Click OK. And then boom. Now that wheel is just one body. Hooray, hooray. Now, before I print this thing out, this is one of the most important aspects of your 3D print to get this perfect. You want the shaft of the motor to grab that wheel as much as possible. If you don't, these things spin up so fast, it'll fly right off. Believe me, I've done it many times. So, I have 2 recommendations. First of all, you have to experiment and figure out what works best for your printer. Now, I find that the bamboo, so the shaft of the motor is 2 millimeters in diameter. Let me show you over here. The shaft of the motor, let's turn these back on. All right, turn off the motor holder. All right, the shaft of the motor is 2 millimeters in diameter. And remember, when you print things, they shrink a little bit. On my bamboo, if I want my bamboo printer, and again, this is particular to my printer, using PLA, it's different with PETG, so you really got to experiment. But with PLA on my bamboo, I want this hole to be about 2.4 millimeters in diameter. On my Prusa, I make it 2 millimeters or 2.2 millimeters in diameter. So right now, if I click inspect and I click the hole, it says the diameter is 2. So that's going to be too small. If I print it, that shaft is not going to go in there. And you don't want to smash the shaft into the hole. You don't want to do that because you're going to mechanically tear away the sides. And if you do that, you're not necessarily, you don't know if you're hitting it dead center. This has to be hit dead center for it to work well. So let's offset this, modify, offset, click the center. And again, if you're printing in a bamboo, I'm going to make this 0.2 millimeters, and I'm going to flip that and make that negative to expand it. Click OK, inspect. Click the circle again. Now look at the diameter, it's 2.4. So let me quickly show you how to print this too. File, 3D print. I'm going to click this, send it directly to Bamboo Studio, which will open up here. All right, let me show you my settings here. Let's expand this. It should have been set up already. Oh well. All right, really important here. So I'll resync, blah, blah, blah. Don't print out any structural things in silk. I love it. It looks pretty. Don't use it. Use regular PLA or PETG. Don't use silk. So I'm going to lay this on its flat face. Now, one other thing I highly recommend you do, change the infill. You want to do an infill of actually 100%. You want to make this wheel completely solid. And when you do that, it's going to change to a rectilinear pattern. Same thing is true on the Prusa, by the way. So you want to do 100% infill. It'll automatically change you to a rectilinear pattern. If I slate. So the reason why you want to do that is, one, you want to increase the mass of these flywheels. Because we don't really care about their spin up time. We care that when they spin up and they make contact with the ball, you have an object that has a very high rotational inertia and another object in the ball that has no rotational inertia. Those two things have a huge inertial mismatch. So the more mass you give the flywheel, the less it will be slowed down when it encounters the ball. So you want to increase the mass of the flywheels. Also, this is going to make them stronger. And you care about the strength both in when the shaft goes in here. And you should also be set to strength, because when you change your type of print from just draft or standard to strength gives more wall loops, which is going to make the hole where it grabs the shaft stronger. That's a good thing. So like I said, you want to make it a little bit bigger. When you print this out, even though this is 2.4, it's going to shrink down to about 2. Now, I said there were two things you need to worry about. The size of it matching up perfectly. And the second thing is just use some super glue. Put a little dab of super glue on the end of the shaft. Push it in there. Make sure you put it on the motor holder first. We'll talk about that later. So do not mount your flywheels to your motors yet. You can't do that. We'll get to that part, okay? I'll explain that in the build guide video. So anywho, that's how to do all that. And again, leave comments. I can make shorts on more particulars of this, and I'll also cover more details in another video. Again, hats off to anybody who's doing this. If I could get at least 10 people to make this on their own, that's awesome. All right, anywho, let's get rid of that. Now, let's mirror these to the other side. So I'm going to turn on my motor too, and let's turn on the base. There we go. Let's mirror a set of these to the other side, because that's going to make it easier to draft the motor holder. So we're going to come down to activate, by the way, activate the overall component motors and flywheels. So I activate there. So these are both visible now. Now create, mirror, click the motor, click the flywheel. Operate object type. Notice, look, I clicked here and I tried to click the flywheel. It doesn't let me do both because my object type needs to be set to components. Now I can click this and this. Now I want to mirror it to the other side, but notice I can't because I need a mirror plane to mirror it about. And if I turn on the origin plane, that's not going to work because this isn't centered. So let's make a mirror plane. So construct. And now we can take a little shortcut here. We're going to use an object or a tool called midplane. So now with midplane active, I click this side and I click the other side, and look at that. Now I have a plane that bisects our base. So now we can mirror across it. Create, mirror, click this object, select components, click this component, and now for the mirror plane, if you have trouble getting to it, well, remember, you can left click and hold, and I didn't find it. All right, let's do that again. Left click and hold. Can't find it. Oh yeah, because I'm looking for an object. My bad. Here, unselect that. So we got our two components selected. We need to now select the mirror plane. Select mirror plane. Now left click and hold. There it is. There's plane one. It showed up. Click that. Mirrored it across. Boom. Look at that. Okay, you are in fact ready to print the flywheels as I said. So let me go back to this again. So yeah, print it. Strength setting, solid infill, 100%. You can just make 2 copies of these. But I do strongly recommend you print out 1 wheel at a time, fit the flywheel to the shaft. It should be super snug to the point where you have to really press it to get it on, but not necessarily use a hammer, because then that shaft is probably just shearing the plastic all the way through. And you don't want that. An extra tight fit is not a good thing, because then you're going to produce the slightest bit of wobble. You don't want wobble. Instead, make sure they fit very snug. Dab of super glue, press fit together, and you're good to go. Don't want to save it. Now, all right, next step. What is our next step? Probably making the motor holder. It is. Let's go. So right click, new component, motor holder, motor holder, motor holder, motor holder. All right, let's clean this up a little bit. We're going to uncollapse this, or collapse that rather. Collapse that, collapse, collapse, collapse. Collapse that. That looks better. Let's turn on the magazine and barrel. I'm going to turn off, open up the bodies, turn on the magazine eyeball, turn off the barrel eyeball, because I need these to reference. And we're going to do something else specific. I am going to expand open my motors and flywheels, and I'm going to turn off the wheels. Boom, boom. Wheels are gone. All right, now create sketch on the bottom of this motor here. Okay. Now, so we're sketching on this motor. Now remember, when you sketch on a surface, it only acknowledges anything connected to that surface. This surface is not connected, so let's project that. P for project, click anywhere within the motor like that. And now let's click this outer ring here too. Okay, yay! All right, so that's looking good. Now let's turn off the magazine and barrel. Let's turn off the motors and flywheels. And let's turn off the base. And let's organize all this stuff here too. Collapsing it down. That looks better. Okay. Now, let's offset this stuff, because we're going to make the motor holder, thick to fit around the motor to hold the motor. So, offset. Click this sketch here. We're going to make this 7 millimeters thick. It's a good general thickness to give just enough strength to hold the thing without it being overbearing. Click OK. Offset this. Click here. 7. OK. And now offset this too. Click that. Also make that 7. Click OK. Now, let's make some lines connecting these two bits. We're going to go, I'll show you some tricks here. L for line. Now I want to make sure that I am tangential to this surface. I can draw a construction line, going from here to here. But if I just start here, drag my mouse up, I get that blue dotted line. And then now you see that blue dotted line carries forward. Now I know I'm tangential to that surface right there. And I come straight across, boom, like that. Similarly, I'm going to go from here to Nyan, and we'll do the same thing down here. Mouse over, scroll down, click when I've intersected. come straight across. Boom skis. Look for all these parallel and whatever that is, tangent. I don't know what that constraint is. All right, tangent, parallel, and tangent, those are literally antonyms, whatever. So I'm going to click here, come straight in, boom. Yay, looking good. Now let's make some arch in the front. So I am going to escape to stop doing that. X for construction, L for line. Go from here to there, nice straight line. Now I am going to create another line, an offset line. Offset. Click this line, type in 5, and enter. Goody. Now we're going to use this to create an arch. So click, not offset. I already did that. Click create. Scroll down to arc, 3-point arc. Turn off construction. Click up here. Click down here. And then click when I'm in the middle, when I see the triangle. Boom. All right, now we're going to offset that. Escape to stop drawing. Click offset. I click this here, and I am going to make this 7 as well. 7 as well, I said. 7 as well. There we go. 7 as well. Okay. Now, I typed on my notes. I don't even know where I'm at anymore. Okay. Now, let's extrude this 2 directions. I'm going to turn on my eyeball for my motors real quick, just to orient myself. So, okay. This is upwards. This is downwards. That is good. All right. E for extrude. I'm going to click these profiles as shown. Click all those profiles. And now I'm going to click nya and nya. And I'm going to extrude this all down by 1. Just 1 to prevent the motors from falling through. Hit enter. Now, let's extrude stuff upward. I think I can do this without turning the sketches back on. E for extrude, and I'm going to click all this. Hooray. No, I cannot. I cannot. So, click cancel out of that. So I'm going to go to motor holder, turn on the sketches, and then turn that sketch back on. So now, because I don't want to, I'm going to sketch, not pull this middle part up because that's obviously going to go through the motor. So now let's hit E for extrude. That's better. So click, 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 click. 6 profiles selected. And we're going to bring this up by 15. So either drag it up or type in. I always recommend you type it in. -15. There you go, man. That's going to hold the motors. All right. Turn off that sketch. That's better. Now, there's some issues here. Watch. If I turn on the magazine and barrel, so I'm going to turn on the eyeball for magazine and barrel, and then open up the bodies, turn on the barrel. Clearly, there's an issue here. You can't have 2 physical objects occupying the same space. That's kind of a problem. So let's take care of that problem. So what I'm going to do, and there's also an additional problem here. I need to make, well, let me do it and then I'll explain it as I go. All right, so let's click Create Sketch, and I'm going to sketch on this front surface here. Double click to orient myself, zoom in. Now I'm going to offset this circle just by 0.4 millimeters. So offset, click the outer ring, 0.4, and enter. Now I'm going to hit E for extrude, and I'm going to click in here that outer offset we did and fill up everything. Now this is important. Once you've got all those selected, turn off the magazine and barrel, because we're going to do a thing, if we're going to extrude and make a cut, but we don't want to cut the barrel itself. We want to cut this object. So I'm going to drag this all the way through. The distance does not matter too much. What matters is you go all the way through here. Don't go out the back too. Just stop here, like that. Okay, now why did I offset it by 0.4? Well, remember, we're doing 3D prints, right? This is going to have some overhangs here, which we're going to have to fill. I want to create a little bit of space here so that, when I print this out, the little bit of overhang residue that is there when I break it off doesn't, interfere here. So this 0.4 millimeters gives me 2 layers of thickness, which is pretty good to get it just about right. Again, this is a very empirical science. Your results may differ. All right, now let's create some mounting holes. I think I did all that right. Pretty sure. Looks good anyway. All right, so let's create some mounting holes so I can tie the motor holder to the magazine. Well, this is actually pretty straightforward. So we're going to go to hole. Yay. Now, if I click countersink and then I click, be careful, don't click over here, click here. And notice it's usually going to snap right to where I want it. I have no idea where these measurements came from, but I want the depth to be at least 11. That's all right. So a depth of 11. The outer head diameter, 6. The hole diameter, again, let's make that 3.3. And that looks good. Yeah. And then, yeah, looks okay. Now click OK. So there's one hole. Let's put one on the other side. So create hole, click the surface. Again, it's usually going to snap it right to where you want it. If not, you can drag this. And look, I could see through it. So now I know my 2 holes line up. It's not important because, here, so I'll click OK. Because the nice thing is that this hole, because the magazine is still on, the eyeball is still on. Because the eyeball is still on, it's going to create the hole through both components. So make sure your magazine eyeball is on. Now, one more hole. This is good, but I want to prevent it. Again, these motors spin up quick. So I want to make sure this is nice and secure. So I'm going to make one more hole. Click hole. I'm going to align myself to the front surface, and I'm going to plop it here. Now, this is important. I don't want to center it because, I'm going to put a screwdriver through this, and it's going to be hard. This is going to get in my way. So I'm going to just drag this down just a little bit to about there. That looks good. Give me a little bit of space for a fillet we're going to put in later. Okay, now let's do our thingy where, again, this is the non-threading part of the hole. I want to make the threading part of the hole on the magazine. Activate the magazine and barrel. I'll turn off the motor holder eyeball so I can see what I'm doing clearly. Click modify, click offset. And I am going to pull these, well, let's here, click these cylinders, the inner cylinders, the hole cylinders, whatever you want to call them. Get out of my way, measurement. Click there. Click there. 3.3. I will make this, let's offset it by 0.25. And then click OK. Then if I do that, let's inspect. I for inspect. I click here. And nope, not what I wanted. Inspect. Click the cylinder. Notice there's a difference. Watch. If I hit I for inspect, which I can't find because I'm blind. If I click the hole, it gives me the loop length. If I click the circle, it gives me the loop length. If I instead hit I for inspect and I click the cylinder, now it gives me the diameter. That's a little bit easier to work with. So yeah, 2.8 is pretty good. I don't love that though. I think I'd like it to be a little bit smaller. So we can modify that. So right click, edit feature, and let's just make it 0.3 instead. So now if I inspect it, click the cylinder, yeah, 2.7, that's a little bit better because I want to make these holes even smaller so the screw grabs it better. Never over tighten your screws on any of this because we're threading into plastic. You'll just chew the plastic up. You screw until it's tight, you feel it's tight, and then don't overdo it. That's really hard to describe unless you've done this. Okay. Wow, is that it, or did I just accidentally delete all my notes? I didn't. Goody. That's the motor holder. That wasn't that bad. Let's turn you back on. All right, so this isn't ready to print yet. We're going to make some modifications. Let's do the pusher arm next. All right, time to make the pusher arm. So this part right here, how do we make that? Notice I didn't make the servo this time because I didn't think it was that useful, and it kind of it just wasn't useful. These large servos, useful. All right. Anywho, let's make the pusher arm. First thing, we need to locate our pusher arm, where it goes, and well, let's make a new component. So right click on the overall build, new component, and then we're going to call this pusher arm. Can't type pusher arm. Oh my God, arm. All right, now pusher arm. Let's collapse things down. You know how I feel about collapsing menus. I love it. I love it so much. All right, now let's turn the base back on. Let's turn the flywheels off. Actually no, leave the magazine and barrel on. Turn the motor holder off. And that looks pretty good. That should be pretty good to work with. Actually, let's turn off the motors too. There we go. So I'm just seeing the magazine, the barrel, and the base. Now, I have this from earlier, but let's just make another one. I just think that's a little bit easier. Let's create a mid-plane that cuts the base in half. So construct mid-plane. Click this side. Click the other side. Now we have a mid-plane that cuts it in half. Now, we are going to we're going to sketch on this plane. So create sketch. I want to select that plane. Remember the rule, I can't get at the plane, but if I left click and hold, it'll find plane 1. Now we're selecting on plane 1. All right, now I'm going to hit P for project this top corner here. And I'm going to make a line, X for construction, L for line. I'm going to come up 79 millimeters from there. This is super important. You might get away with 78. I'll explain that later. So 79 millimeters. Now let's draw some stuff here. So I'm going to go C for circle, X to turn off construction, and I'm going to make this circle 6.8. Now, this is for the horn on the small servo. Again, make sure you use the specific Miyuze servos. This little guy right here, I'll have links in the description so you know what to get. So this is fitted specifically to that servo horn. All right, now, next thing, we're going to make a line that goes down from there, 18.2. So I'm going to zoom in. X for construction, L for line, come down exactly 18.2, enter. Now at the end of this line, I'm going to draw a circle, C for circle, but I'm going to use a 2-point circle, X to turn off construction. Click the end, boom, comes straight up, and we're going to type in 4.1, enter. Now, let's make a line, L for line. I want to make sure it's tangential here, so I'm going to start in the center, walk out, click there, and then I'm going to click when I see the tangent symbol. Same thing over here. Come here, come to my right, click when I see the dotted line and the X. So start in the center. I don't click, I just hover. Hover, pull to the right, now click. And then pull over here, click. There we go. Now, we're going to make a line for one screw hole, which you probably don't even need. Now, X for construction, L for line. Coming from the bottom here, we're going to go up exactly 9.3, hit enter. C for circle, X to turn off construction, type in 3. All right, looking good. Now, we are going to extrude this. Here, I will turn on just so I can orient myself. I am going to extrude this, E for extrude. Click this. Actually, no, not that. We're going to click this and this. I'm going to extrude this negative 2.2. And what do I mean by negative? I'm pulling it to, here, if I turn the servos back on, I'm pulling the servo horn towards the servo side. Here, if I turn the platforms back on, I'm pulling it towards that side. Okay, click OK. All right, I'll turn those parts back off. Boom. Yeah, good enough. All right. Now, I'm going to turn that sketch back on. Expand. Expand. Turn that on. E for extrude. Click the circle 4.8. Oh, but I want it the other way. Negative. There we go. Operation set to join. There's our servo horn. Looks good. But we're going to put this at an angle. So let me show you what I mean. I want the servo horn at a 30-degree angle. So let's do that. All right. So we're going to click move, M for move or copy, or click that icon up there. Click specifically here in the center. I'm going to rotate this. Nope. Sorry. Click not the arrow, but click the circle. Rotate it 30 degrees. Click OK. Notice there's a mismatch between the sketch and the body. That is OK. So let's turn off sketch 1. And I want to do one other thing that I should have done earlier, but that's OK. I should have created, called it pusher arm parts. So what I'm going to do is right-click on this, create components from body, change this to pusher horn. And then we'll call this, I'm going to double click on here, we'll call this pusher parts. So changing the name from pusher arm to pusher parts. Okay, that looks better. Now, right click on this, new component. So we're making a subcomponent. Now we're going to make the actual pusher arm. Okay. Now, I'm going to orient myself on the other side. So I'm not on this surface. I'm going to be on this surface. So there we go. So now we're going to create sketch on this. Double click to find myself. C for circle. Click in the center. Dial in number 9. Enter. Now this is going to be a little bit wonky, but just follow me. It's not too bad. Let's project this part here. P for project. I'm going to click the entire horn like this. OK. And this is so I can intersect some geometries. Now, X for construction. L for line. Click here. Make sure I find that line there. I bisect it with the triangle symbol. And I type in 66. And then notice my degrees are 120. Click OK. There we go. So it's a line going directly through the center of this thing. All right. Now, let's make some solid lines. And my mouse died. That's good. That's okay. I have a wireless mouse. I can plug it in right now, although I won't be able to use it as well because the cord will be dragging everywhere. All right, here we go. Are we working? We are. All right. L for line, X to turn off construction. Click this dot at the end. We're going to come straight to the right. Notice the right angle symbol. So with that right angle symbol active, I'm going to type in number 3, enter. Now, from there, L for line, click here. And I'm going to click, if you guessed when I saw the tangent symbol, you guessed right. So when I see the tangent symbol up here, which is again the circle with the line on top of it, there we go. That's one of the lines. Let's mirror these two thingies to the other side. So click mirror. Click this line and click that line. So we've selected the objects we wish to mirror. Activate the mirror line field. Click the mirror line. We've mirrored both of these things to the other side. Good stuff. Now, from here, we're going to go directly from this edge here. L for line. Click there. Come straight out. Look at that nice right angle symbol. Type in 41. And goody. My stupid mouse is... All right, so L for line, click here, right angle symbol, or parallel, right? Notice that this time I got a parallel symbol. That also works. 41. It's 30 degrees. That's what matters. This is parallel to this, which is the same thing as this line being perpendicular to that. Okay, and now let's go L for line. At the end of this, you're going to click and come straight up. And you're going to type in 6 when it's perpendicular. Notice it looks like it's just barely going to run into here. That's a good thing. We have a little bit of wiggle room. Don't worry. All right. L for line. go from here straight into here. We're going to look for tangent symbols, etc. Notice I'm not able to get it. That's fine. So what I can do is hit tab, type in 150. Now I have that angle locked. And then now I could just come in here and type it like that. And now I know I've made a perfect rectangle there. Now, we got some internal geometry that we need to clean up here. That's okay. Let's do that. So we're going to, let's do one other thing too. I don't want this flat surface contacting the ball like this. It's better if I have a surface like this. So let me do it, then I'll explain it after the fact. So I'm going to draw a line going from here straight up to there. Now let's clear up this extra sketches. T for trim. Key letter T for trim. I'm going to trim out this section here, and then this and this. Bing, bing. Gone, gone. This is not a line. This is a reference point. Okay. Looks good. Looks good. Now, escape to stop trimming. Now we're going to fillet this, make it look nice. Fillet, but we don't hit key letter F because key letter F for fillet is for solid body fillet, not sketch fillets. So we want a sketch fillet, we click this icon. I'm going to click this corner here. This can be tricky. So I can either click this edge, or I'll escape out of that. If you get the corner perfect, I'll click fillet again. If I get this corner perfect, it'll show up like that. And I want to fillet this by 10. Enter. Now, there I did it the corner. Here I'll do it with the two sides. So I'm going to click fillet. Click this edge. And here I'm actually going to fillet it by 5 to get the two curvatures to match up. Looks good. Looks good. Now, let's do some stuff here. I want to extrude this arm to surround the servo horn. So it looks good. In case I projected this geometry earlier, so make sure you've projected the servo horn so this sketch exists on this surface. So now we're going to extrude it by E for extrude. Click here, and we're going to pull this across by -4. Enter. Now, what I promised earlier, this flat surface, when it swings through, this little tip is going to scoop and press into the ball in there, and that is what we want, because if it doesn't, I've tried other designs, it pushes the ball in. So this edge here better scoops the ball if I have it nice and flat like that. Okay, so let's continue. I'm going to extrude this. I'm going to make this body solid. E for extrude, click like this, and then click, no. So let's do, click cancel. So what I'm trying to do is kind of fill in the rest of this and make a solid thing, but keep that hole there. So if I hit E for extrude and I click this and I click in here, it's going to screw up. So let's turn off the pusher horn body. I'm going to sketch on this surface, create sketch, double center click to find myself, E for extrude. Now that I'm sketching, I can click here, and now finally I can select that hole. And I'm going to come out 2 millimeters. Click OK. There you go. The arm is looking decent. With the exception of, notice I didn't put in that hole. So we can, couple ways to do this, but let's just do it. I'll turn on the arm pusher horn like this, and then I'll click create sketch on this surface, double center click, and maybe you know what I could do here. I'll project, so I line this, I'll project this hole on there, click OK, and now I can extrude this hole through, boom, click over here. I'm not even going to go to extend type to object this time. We're done. I don't care. Rebellious I am. Oh God. All right. So now let's make this thing nice and pretty. So we're going to fillet stuff. So I'm going to hit key letter F for fillet. I'm going to click this whole outer loop like that. So I click this edge, which highlighted everything. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to click this edge, which highlights everything. Hooray. And then now I want to click, not an edge, but I'm going to click that face. And I'm going to fillet these all by 1 with a tangency weight of 2. Then click OK. And actually, this horn or this pusher arm is ready to print right now. By the way, you might note that this arm is not going to be perfectly centered. That's fine. This is just schematic. It will mount perfectly centered, but the way I drew it is not perfectly centered. I could have done it. I just didn't want to make this video even longer. Now, one other important bit here. I want to create some space for the screw that's going to be at the end of the servo horn and also just make this fit better in general. So here's what I'm going to do. Go back. So with my pusher arm activated, open this up. I'm going to turn off the pusher horn for a second, create sketch, sketch on here. Double click to find myself. Now, I'm going to hit P for project first. Now turn on the pusher horn, click within this sketch, click OK, turn off the pusher horn. And now we're going to extrude this by, click this. Now, something else I want to do here, by the way, something else I want to do. I want a little bit of wiggle room between the servo horn and the space for the servo horn. Again, if that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. So what I'm going to do is make a slightly bigger circle. C for circle, I'm going to click in here. I'm going to type in 7.4. Enter. Now I'm going to extrude this bigger section by 1.2. Enter. So maybe you see my point now. The end of the servo horn, the pusher horn, I'll turn that on. This part here, which I didn't sketch, again, I sketched it schematically. This part actually sticks out a little bit. So I want clearance for this part that sticks out and in addition to the screw. So that's all I did there. All right. Woo! Let's go. Okay, the pusher arm's done. Now we're just going to make the rings to hold this thing up, make some final touches, and we're there. All right, let's make the servo rings. First step, right-click on pusher parts. New component. Let's call this servo rings. All right, subcomponent of servo rings. Let's locate these. I'm going to click construct offset plane, and specifically I'm clicking the top ring here, the top little Pac-Man guy here on top of our base, or on top of our magazine. Type in number 67. The location is very important. Again, you might have to adjust this if you use different servos to me. All right. Now, we're going to create a sketch on that. Create sketch, click the top of it, so we're facing top down. I'm going to hit key letter P for project. I'm just going to project this outer ring here. Click OK. And then now I'm going to turn off the base and the magazine and barrel. And I'm even going to turn off the pusher arm too. And I'll turn off the... why is that? Body 2? Oh, those two bodies aren't fused. Oh, well. So look, I have this additional body hanging out here. That's fine. That's not a body I'll be printing. But the two components of my pusher arm are not fused bodies. Doesn't matter. So let's turn that off. All right. So now looking at this, let's do the following. We are going to first make a bigger ring. So C for circle. I click the center here. I type in 40. Enter. Now let's make a center line. X for construction, L for line. I'm going to go from here straight across, 0 degrees, 20. Now, we are going to make a line. I'm going to do a very specific way of doing this. I'm going to go L for line. I'm going to click here. Notice I haven't located it anywhere. We will in a second. I click here. Oh, turn off construction. By the way, I can't hit X now. I might have mentioned this prior. If I wanted to change this from a construction to a solid line now, if I hit X, it's going to type X into the measurement. That's not going to make sense. So in this case, I actually have to click construction. All right. So now I type in 15. Enter. Now, we're going to dimension this. D for dimension. I click the dotted line I created. And then I click. So again, in case I did that quick, D for dimension. Click the dotted line. Click the solid line. D for dimension. No, it's selecting a thing. If I already have a thing selected, then I hit dimension. It's going to dimension that thing. So make sure I don't have anything clicked. D for dimension. Click the dotted line. Click the solid line. Click between the two. Type in 8. There we go. Cleaner way to do this. Escape to stop dimensioning. L for line. Click the end of this dot. Come straight down. Type in 5. Click. Left click. And then I could come straight across here. Straight line. Click. Escape to stop. Let's do something similar on the other side. L for line. I'm going to go from here to here. Hit escape to stop drawing lines. D for dimension. Click this line. Click that line. Click in between. 8. Enter. There we go. Okay. Now let's extrude this. E for extrude. Click, click, click. Click those 3 profiles. Type in 7. Enter. Okay. Now, let's fillet this. We're going to fillet the faces. F for fillet. I click the top face, the underside, this face and this face. We're just going to make them a little bit prettier. Type in 1, a fillet of 1, and tangency weight of 2. Click OK. Again, this prints better. Tangency weight of 2 prints better, especially on a bamboo. Especially in a bamboo. Prusa is a little more forgiving. All right, I'm going to go to this view. I'm going to click M for move or copy. Click kind of anywhere, but let's be specific. I'm going to click the center of this ring here. Click create copy first. Click the up arrow to dictate the plane. Type in 30. Enter. Goody. Now, for the heck of it, well, not for the heck of it, because I have to, come down to your timeline, right-click on the fillet, and then select Suppress Fillet. Suppress features specifically. All right, that's going to make us easier to draw our sketches. I'm going to sketch on here first. Create sketch, top ring. Double-click to find, there we go. R for rectangle, X for construction. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go 2.5 upward, tab 7 leftward. Enter. C for circle, X to turn off construction. Click there, type in 1.8, enter. All right, E for extrude. Click the circle. Change extend type to object. Click the other side, drag through, operation set to cut. There we go. Now, this is off center because the servo, it just fits the servo better. Without going into too much detail, you'll probably see it in the build guide. So I got to do the same thing down here, but I kind of mirror that. So create sketch, click here, double click, and then I'm going to select R for rectangle, X for construction, click here, come across. 2.5, tab 7, enter. C for circle, X to turn off construction, click the center here, 1.8, enter. E for extrude, click that circle, drag it through. Oh, I didn't change extend type to object. I don't care. Okay. I'm not going to change these dimensions. If I did, let me be punished for it. All right. Right click down here. Unsuppress features. There we go. Your rings are done. But let's turn the magazine back on. We need to mount the magazine here. I'll turn the pusher arm back on. I need to mount the pusher rings to the magazine. So let's do that. All right. We're going to click hole. And I'm going to click this surface here. It's going to snap to it pretty darn well in the center. If it doesn't, you zoom in and drag. So I can zoom in. Remember, how far you zoom in dictates the increment of move. So the dimensions we want, I wanted to make sure it goes all the way through, so I'll change that to 12. And the head diameter, 4.5, which is just a little bit clear of our fillets. And the hole diameter will make 2. Then click. Okay. Now, let's make one underneath the 2. We're going to mount this ring 2. Select hole. Click down here. This time it didn't center it, so I'm going to zoom in a lot. Drag. That looks pretty good. Drag. That looks better. All right. Kept all our measurements. 12, 4.5, 2. Okay, let's do it on the other side. Boop. Let's click hole. And I'm going to click here. Now, it did line it up. It looks like it lined it up pretty well. Doesn't have to. But you can see, look, the holes, one side to the other. Since it's not going all the way through, it's not important. What matters is this hole lines up with this. And they will, because that hole is going through both bodies. So no worries for the rest of your days. All right, click hole. Click here. Line it up just to be nice. Yay! Click OK. Woo! Now, as we usually do, let's pull these, let's offset these holes inward. So I'm going to activate the magazine and barrel. I'll turn off the pusher parts for a second, and I'm going to offset these in. Modify. Offset. Click in. Click in. Click in. Click in the cylinder 2. And I offset these by 0.3. Not 3/4, 0.3. Enter. And so these holes are going to be pretty small, but again, the screws I will recommend you use are kind of like self-tapping wood screws. It's just a guide hole to chew, for the screw to chew through as it goes into the plastic. Okay. Okay, dokie. Now, we're going to do this all in one take. I don't care. Now, we're going to finish up everything. Magazine and barrel is activated. That's what we want. Now, we're going to create a tangent plane to this surface. Construct, tangent plane. Click that surface. Array. Now, we're going to offset to that. The diameter is 30, so the radius is 13. Construct. Offset plane. Click the plane. Type in -15. Enter. Let's collapse, 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 expand. Expand construction. Turn off plane. Oop. 2. Turn off plane 2. I want this plane around, not the other one. Create sketch on this plane. Let's drag ourselves in place. Now, I need to turn on my motor holder. So eyeball of motor holder on. And I'm going to hit P for project. Project this top line. Click OK. Now, how did I do this? That's right. X for construction, L for line. Click when I see the triangle. Come straight up, type in 5. Enter. Now, we're going to make, why did I do it like that? I don't know. L for line. We're going to go from here straight across by 8. Oh, I know I did it. 8. Okay. So now, we're going to make a rectangle. R for rectangle, X to turn off construction. We're going to click here, and I'm going to come up by, yeah, that's right. I'm just double checking. Okay, so we're going to go 78.5 up, tab 16 to the left. Enter. Now, we're going to fillet this. This is tricky, so watch carefully because it matters. The shortcut way, you have to do it in a particular order. So I'm going to click fillet. You have to begin on this corner. I'm going to start on this corner here. So I'm going to click this edge and that edge. And then now It's not gonna work, so whatever. All right, so I'm just gonna do these one at a time. That's 8. Enter. So I'm gonna fill it here. There we go. So now it's given me this corner. I'll click there. I'm gonna zoom up. Click there. Click there, and I type in 8 for all of them, and that didn't work. So sometimes I get this to work, sometimes I don't. I don't know the rules. Let's just do it the long way. So click, 8. Fill it again. Click, 8. There is a way to get these all done at once. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. It's picky. Fusion is a very picky program, and I'm sure a lot of you are encountering this, like you're following me and it's not doing exactly what I'm doing. I get that. I've been through that with tutorials too. Please leave comments. I will help you. I will release shorts to help you or something, but I get you, and you're not alone. It's happened to me. All right, E for extrude. That profile we just created, I'm going to drag that forward. Yay, look at that. Looks cool. Now, we got to do that again on the back, but we're going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to turn on plane 3 again. Create sketch on plane 3. New sketch. Now, X for construction, L for line. Look, need to find this, so escape. P for project first. Select this top line. There we go. Now, L for line, construction's already on. Click the center, come across by 8. Enter. R for rectangle, X to turn off construction. Click here. Come up by 120. Tab across by 16. Enter. Let me try my fill it trick again, man. I'm not dead yet. So we're going to fill it all this. Let's try it. Fill it. Click. Can I do it? No, I don't know. There's a way to do it. Anyway, we're going to fill it these all by 8 again. Click and click. 8. Wait a minute. There it is. I dial in 8 first. Then I do all those. All right. Now, this corner here. There we go. And this corner here. Come on. There it is. Hit enter. Don't click finish sketch. All right. So hopefully that made sense. You can do it the long way. Now, E for extrude. Click this. And we're actually, no, I don't want to go that way. I'm going to drag this through backwards. And yeah, I actually want to cut the motor holder 2. There you go. And then now, click OK. And then now, how the pusher arm works should make sense. This build is pretty thorough, man. This build is pretty thorough. All right. We're actually done. We're just going to clean this up. So let's make this top rounded. I think that looks a little bit better. F for fillet. Click the top. 3 to fillet it. No. 1.5. Oh my God. 1.5. There we go. Nice rounded top. If you want to do it, you can change the tangency weight here too if you want. Actually like the tangency weight of 2 there. All right. Won't matter because you're printing it in this plane. So the tangency weight doesn't matter when you're printing in that plane. All right. Only a couple more things. Let's clean this up further. Let's fillet this part here. F for fillet. Click this ring here. Tangency weight of 2. Here it actually matters. And I'm going to fillet this by 5. The reason why the tangency weight matters here is I found a tangency weight of 1 here. Oh, works. But it never worked before. Whatever. I don't know. Usually it like fusion breaks if I use a tangency weight of 1 there. I don't know what to tell you. All right. Click OK. Okay. Looking good. Almost. Couple more things. The ball, I'll turn off the pusher parts, okay? The ball can get stuck here. So if you put your Nerf ball in here and the pusher arm pushes it, it's got this little hump to clear. We actually want a small hump there because otherwise when you tilt the turret down, the ball will just fall out of the thing. I've been building these things for 3 or 4 years now. have some ideas. I have a few ideas. So we're going to fillet this. F for fillet. I'm going to click this edge here, fillet it by 3. So now when that pusher arm scoops through, it'll roll the ball over this hill, and you want a slight hill for it to overcome so it stays in the magazine, but it's also easy to push out of the magazine. And oh my God, there's only 2 more steps. So now let's activate. Oh, I'll show you another thing if I haven't done this before. Right click on motor holder, and then I'm going to select isolate. I know I never showed you that prior. All right, now activate the motor holder as well. Let's fillet this thing because we can make it look better. So I'm going to hit key letter F for fillet. This is personal preference, but I'm going to do the following. I'm going to click this top surface here. And, oh, these edges. This edge, this edge, this edge, and this edge. And I like to fillet this all by 3. You can change the tangency weight here too as well. Doesn't matter because this is not, a printing surface. It's going to print like this. That's personal preference. I think I'll keep it like that. Now finally, the very last step. F for fillet. Click here and here. I'm going to fillet these faces by 1. With a tangency weight of 2. This surface does matter because you're going to be printing this thing from bottom to top. Click OK. And oh my God, on the overall build, right click, select unisolate all, and turn on the eyeballs for everything. Turn on the eyeballs for everything, activate the overall build. Oh my God. Oh, no. Let's turn on the wheels. Oh, let's turn on the servo bodies. Boom. There it is, man. Look at that. Wow. That's it. If you made this through it all, seriously, congratulations. You will have to adjust some things, I'm guessing, right? If you don't use the exact same servo parts that I'm using, and even if you are, those servo horns, again, might not come out to the exact same dimensions, but most of this should fit. I will have additional notes on how to build it, but let me give you some notes on how to print it in just a second. I need water. All right, time for some 3D printing tips. So let's look at a couple parts here. So I'm going to minimize this. First thing I want to talk about is printing out the magazine. So I would place, and I'll show you between both Prusa and Bamboo for each part. I'm going to lay this on its face here, and we print it upright like this. And so you're not going to have a lot of issues with overhangs, but only in a couple key parts. So what I recommend you do is, first of all, turn on, so I go to Print Settings, Support Material. I recommend Generate Support Material and use organic supports. So I'm going to use auto-generated just to show you. So I slice it. And auto-generated supports are good, but you don't need to support the screw holes. So what I recommend you do instead is organic supports are the way to go. We're going to paint on supports. And I'm just going to paint this surface here to get you started. So we'll go here. I'm going to paint just the major part of the arch because everything else will come out just fine. Like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. Kind of like in here. That looks pretty good. And then I kind of paint and then erase the extra stuff because I don't need it supported there. Go here. All right, you get the point. And then now I go back to my print settings, turn off auto-generated supports, and then slice it. And then, yeah, so what I did there, you also need to do for these 2 arches up here. And the same thing in Bamboo. Now, one other thing to point for you, or point out the same thing to you in Bamboo. So again, what I would do in here is click on the object itself. And then I would go to Supports Painting, and I would paint on here, and then use organic supports. Use organic supports and only do not use auto-generated supports. Instead, use the supports based off the ones you painted. Again, if you need a separate video explaining more of this, that's no problem. I figure the folks in this community, or at least my typical audience, might know how to do this. If not, I'll make you guys a video. It's no problem. All right, one more thing. So to paint or to print the barrel, I would print this on, so I'll lay this on this surface here, boom, like that. And then now, if I want to do this in multicolor, what I would recommend you do is click multi-material printing, and I'll make the whole thing in Prusa PLA blend. I really don't recommend you print out anything in silk or blend. It's too soft and it's just not going to hold up. But let's say I did, and then I wanted this other part to come out in my red filamentum PLA. So I'll select extruder 2, and then I'm going to go to Smart Fill here, and then I click, and there you go. This will be my multicolor print to set off the Arasaka emblem. And whew, that's about it. So let's go back to here. So if you made it through all this, super congratulations to you. I learned Fusion through tutorials. I tried to make a tutorial that made something interesting and better. Maybe you're a kid getting into robotics. Please send a picture of your robot to thethinkerteacher@gmail.com. Nothing would make my day more. Always feel free to contact me for classes if you want to take classes on this stuff. My model of my business is something similar to MIT OpenCourseWare, where like if you put in the work, you get everything you want for free. And I want to make those resources available. If you need help, then you can pay for classes. If you want a kit, you can buy a kit. So it's kind of like different things to meet different groups of people. But I truly believe in free education for all, and I'm trying to embody that here. And it's been an absolute pleasure to do this. I hope this reaches somebody. This has been a tremendous amount of work. So, best of luck to you. Again, comment with questions. Email me if you need. Whatever you like. Hope you got a working turret. Take care.